Chapter 681. Run. The warnings of the other 26 ancient kings reached the 16 kings' ears, but it was already too late. Ning Fan's robes were torn to shreds. His skin turned into bloody light bit by bit and disappeared. His muscles, bones and blood all turned into bloody light. His sword was covered with an extremely terrifying blood-red sword light. He seemed to have turned into a bloody man. No, he was a blood devil. His whole body was burning with boiling blood. Blood-red devil horns grew on his head and 8 blood-red wings grew on his back. He seemed to have lost his mind. He never knew that his heart would be devoured by the devil intent when he uses the weapon disintegration style. His consciousness was sometimes blurred and sometimes clear. Under the starlight of the heavens, his physical body was barely able to maintain its indestructible state. However, that was all. The sword in his hand suddenly disappeared and went into Ning Fan's body. At this moment, the 16 kings felt a sense of impending doom and fled desperately. As for the blood devil that Ning Fan had transformed into, the corners of his mouth curved into a cruel smile. Qi the blood devil turned into a ray of blood-red sword light. His speed was already comparable to a life-immortal realm cultivator. He instantly caught up to the 16 kings. Both of his hands were wrapped with blood-red sword light. He had temporarily merged with Emperor Xia's sword. He tore the 16 kings into 2 halves from the middle. The cut was as smooth as a mirror, as if they were cut by a sharp sword. Ning Fan waved his hand and caught the 16 kings' primordial spirits. He then swallowed them in one gulp. His expression became even colder. The wails of the 16 kings spread across the entire 33 heavens in an instant. The 40,000 members of the immortal burial clan trembled. The 9 ancestors and 18 kings also felt a chill from their feet to their heads. He killed a rogue immortal with a single strike. The 16 kings who were at the rogue immortal realm were actually killed by Ning Fan with a single strike. That was an ancestral king. This young man destroyed his physical body in order to use such a powerful technique. If he uses this technique for the second time, he will definitely die. We don't have to be afraid of him. Let's attack together and kill this young man. As soon as the 6th ancestor's voice fell, the remaining 26 ancestral kings rushed towards Ning Fan. They could not give Ning Fan the time to use his second sword technique. Otherwise, another one of their ancestral kings would die. The price they had to pay was too great. The blood light around Ning Fan gradually faded. The weapon disintegration style was only enough to kill one rogue immortal. He could clearly feel that after executing the weapon disintegration style, a demonic thought had been deeply planted in his Tao heart, and it was difficult to erase it. If the so-called sword devil inheritance was cultivated to the extreme, one would naturally degenerate into a devil. However, this devil was a bloodthirsty and cold-blooded devil, which was completely different from Ning Fan's devil Tao. If this evil intent remained in his heart, it would be extremely harmful to him. It would definitely affect his path of becoming an immortal. An ordinary person would have died long ago after performing the weapon disintegration style twice. Who would care about this demonic thought? Ning Fan, on the other hand, was different. He had the self-healing ability of the Black Stars. Even though he used the weapon disintegration style, his injuries were also healing rapidly. Even though his physical body was severely injured, it was not destroyed at all. However, the demonic thoughts were still deeply rooted in him. Every time he used the weapon disintegration style, the demonic thoughts would increase. When it exceeds the limit of his endurance, he would be devoured by the devil sense and become another devil that would not recognize his own family. However, he had no other choice. He could not fight against so many ancestral kings. The only thing he could rely on was this technique. Silly brother. In the profound Yin world, Luo Yu sighed and closed her eyes. Currently, she could no longer provide any help to Ning Fan in such a situation. Weapon disintegration, a cold voice resounded. Ning Fan turned into the blood devil once again. At the moment he used the weapon disintegration style, all the 26 ancestral kings stopped moving. None of them dared to be the first to rush forward and block Ning Fan's sword light. Who wants to die? The blood devil let out a sinister laugh. With a flash of sword light, he appeared in front of the great ancestor. The great ancestor was drenched in cold sweat from fear. He raised his hand and summoned a golden bracelet, striking at the blood devil heavenly spirit. The blood devil's laugh became even more sinister. He clenched his 5 fingers and the golden bracelet was cut into countless pieces. Then, he used his other hand to tear off one of the great ancestor's arms and swallowed it. The great ancestor let out a blood-curdling scream. At the next moment, his other arm was also torn off and eaten by the blood devil. None of the ancestral kings dared to go to the great ancestor's aid. They could only watch as the great ancestor was eaten by the blood devil. They did not dare to go near him. They knew that the blood devil's strength would not disappear before the great ancestor's death. Whoever goes near him will die. If I'm not mistaken, the technique this young man used is to destroy his physical body the first time and his primordial spirit the second time. He will certainly die after these 2 times. It saves us the trouble of killing him. Unfortunately, the great ancestor and the 16 ancestral kings died too tragically. Forget it. We will go and capture those 2 women now to help our ancestor resurrect. As soon as the remaining 25 ancestral kings finished their words, their eyes were filled with shock. Ning Fan, who had used the weapon disintegration style twice, was still alive. He was still in the body of the blood devil. It was the 3rd time he used the weapon disintegration style. His devil sense became stronger. Ning Fan's consciousness became even more blurred. Only a trace of obsession was holding on, vowing to protect Mu Weiliang from harm. His body gradually lost control of itself. He gritted his teeth and turned into the blood devil, forcefully rushing towards the center of the group of ancestral kings. All of the ancestral kings' expressions changed drastically. With the blood devil as the center, they quickly retreated and each of them took out their natal treasures to attack the blood devil. The blood devil sneered coldly. He raised his finger and pointed randomly. Each of the peak immortal void realm magic treasures turned into powder. After that, he turned into a sword ray and dashed towards one of the ancestral kings. He pierced his dantian with his claw and easily crushed his primordial spirit. 18 ancestral kings. 3 ancestral kings roared furiously. For a moment, they forgot their fear towards the blood devil and dashed towards him. The blood devil's eyes flickered with a crazy devil sense. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind: to kill all of the enemies here. Weapon disintegration. Weapon disintegration. Weapon disintegration. The seed of the devil sense grew deeper and deeper. The blood devil directly withstood the attacks of the 3 ancestral kings. Under the effects of the star technique, the injuries he suffered were instantly healed. He sneered and pointed 3 times with his finger. The 3 ancestral kings were immediately turned into minced meat by the blood rays. Who else? The blood devil licked his lips. There were still traces of blood left by the great ancestor at the corner of his mouth. In just 10 breaths' time, 6 ancestral kings had fallen. The remaining 21 ancestral kings were filled with fear. Even if they were to face 30 to 40 rogue immortals, they would not be afraid even if they were no match for them. However, the blood devil that Ning Fan had transformed into was too terrifying. He was not a human at all but a devil. Most of the devil cultivators in the world still referred to the cultivation techniques of the devil Dao. Even if he was an ancient devil, the word devil still referred to the cultivation techniques of the devil Dao. There were kind-hearted people among the devil cultivators and there were also soft-hearted women among the ancient devils. However, the blood devil in front of them had nothing to do with his cultivation techniques. It was the devil sense that was deeply planted in his heart. Cruel, cold-blooded, heartless, despicable, cunning, evil, this devil was a mad devil. He could kill all of his enemies by hook or by crook for the obsession in his heart. However, this devil's strength was terrifyingly strong. Perhaps even an ordinary life immortal realm expert would have to think twice before temporarily avoiding him if he encounters such a fearless blood devil. Who else could kill 6 rogue immortals instantly other than a life immortal realm expert? At this moment, Ning Fan, who was using the weapon disintegration style without any restrictions, was no different from a life immortal realm expert. Retreat. Let's retreat for now. We can't fight this devil. We can only give up on the matter of resurrecting our ancestor for now. If we die, our ancestor really won't be able to be resurrected again. Members of the Immortal Burial Clan, listen to my command. All cultivators below the 6th break realm will stay here and stop this devil. Fight for a chance to escape for us. The second ancestor gave the order. Without saying another word, he turned around and left. He no longer dared to capture Ming Ke and Mu Wailyang. The rest of the ancestral kings also gritted their teeth and slightly suppressed the panic in their hearts. Then they turned around and fled. If they continued to stay here, they would certainly die. The cultivators above the 6th break realm were equally terrified. Even the ancestral kings were easily killed by the blood devil. How would they dare to throw away their lives? It would be best if they could escape. More than 40,000 experts below the 5th break realm were left behind by the ancestral kings to cover the retreat. They knew that they had no chance of surviving in the hands of the blood devil. Now, they could only fight with their lives on the line to ensure the continuation of their clan. Do you think you can run away? Weapon disintegration. Weapon disintegration. Weapon disintegration. The blood devil sneered. All of a sudden, his body dispersed into billions of rays of blood-red sword light. In an instant, the sword light swept across the vast sky. He walked step by step behind the 40,000 people. Behind him, 40,000 experts of the Immortal Burial Clan had died and turned into blood mists. 280 Void Fragmentation Realm experts and 40,000 Void Refinement Realm experts couldn't stop this devil at all. Other than us ancestral kings, all of you stay behind to protect the bloodline of the Immortal Burial Clan. Following the ancestral king's order, 45 6th and 7th break realm experts stood in front of the blood devil. As for the 21 ancestral kings, they desperately ran away. They're just trash. Weapon disintegration. Chi the blood devil sneered. Then, he dispersed into countless rays of blood light and vanished without a trace. At the next moment, he appeared behind the 45 experts. The expressions of the 45 6th and 7th break realm old monsters froze on their faces. At the next moment, all of their heads flew high up into the sky. Their blood splattered on the clouds. The blood-red sword chi invaded their bodies and killed their primordial spirits in an instant. The blood devil did not even look at the corpses, Dao fruits and storage pouches that were scattered all over the ground. He just stared at the 21 ancestral kings who were desperately trying to escape in front of him and licked his lips with a bloodthirsty expression. He stomped on the ground ferociously and crushed all the spoils of war. He liked to destroy things. To him, killing people was the most enjoyable thing. After performing weapon disintegration for so many times, Ning Fan's Dao heart had already been deeply eroded by the devil sense. His Dao heart had already fallen. Stepping on 8,800 rays of black starlight, the blood devil instantly caught up to the 17 ancestral kings. With a shake of his body, he grew to 50,000 zhang in size and swallowed the 17 ancestral kings alive. As soon as the 17 ancestral kings were swallowed into the blood devil's stomach, they were cut into pieces by the blood light. With a miserable shriek, they died a violent death. This was the power of the weapon disintegration style. This was the reason why the weapon disintegration sect of the Western Heaven was so famous. Exchanging death for death was a technique that only lunatics would use. The weapon disintegration sect was a place where lunatics gathered. However, the disciples of the weapon disintegration sect used the weapon disintegration sword technique for the great battle, for the sect and for the righteousness in their hearts. The blood devil, however, was different. In the beginning, Ning Fan used the weapon disintegration style to protect Mu Wailyang. Now, he had already degenerated into a blood devil. His heart was only filled with killing intent and he no longer recognized his own family. 17 kings. King Jiao gritted his teeth as he looked at the blood demon. He had wanted to volunteer to stay behind and block the blood demon, but in the next instant, He had already been torn to pieces by the blood demon. The 8th patriarch trembled as the blood devil closed in on him. He wanted to beg for mercy, but the blood devil completely ignored his pleas and didn't even bother to take him as a slave. The blood demon only wanted to kill. In the blink of an eye, the 8 ancestors had been torn to shreds. The 5th ancestor was swallowed by the blood demon, the 4th king was chewed to pieces, and the 11th king was stomped into meat paste by the blood demon. One after another, the ancestor kings with shocking cultivation base fell one after another. In the end, only the 13 kings were left. The 13 kings did not dare to run anymore. They clenched their teeth and charged at the blood demon. They self-destructed their bodies in an attempt to take the blood demon down with them. His death had indeed dealt a heavy blow to the blood demon. The blood-red light on Ning Fan's body faded slightly. He withdrew from his blood devil form and knelt on one knee on the ground. His body was covered with wounds. There was no time to heal. No matter how powerful the star arts were, there was no time to heal. He had used the weapon disintegration style too many times, and he alone slaughtered the entire immortal burial clan. The price he had to pay was that his Tao heart would be completely tainted and corroded by the devil sense. Ning Fan forced himself to stand up. However, he realized that his limbs were no longer under his control. The reason why he still retained some of his rationality was because the last ancestor king had severely injured his devil sense. However, if his injuries recover in the future, he would fall into the devil sense again and lose all of his rationality. Even if he did not use the weapon disintegration style, the price, in this world, which action does not require one to pay a price. I must go back as soon as possible to bring Whaleyong away and find a way to temporarily suppress the devil sense, before I completely lose my rationality. Ning Fan clenched his teeth. He did not have the time to collect the scattered storage pouches on the ground. Instead, he carried the ancient golden sword and flew back at full speed. He had dispersed the 8,800 black stars above his head. However, the star arts were still healing his body instinctively. His injuries were recovering bit by bit. The demonic sense, which had been slightly scattered, was also recovering. His eyes were blood red and he was gradually losing his rationality. However, he still clenched his teeth and endured the pain. When he returned to the undying tree, his face was cold and filled with anger. A cold smile hung on the corner of his mouth. He was once again invaded by the devil sense. He had killed 27 rogue immortals all by himself. The baleful chi on his body was extremely terrifying. Even a life immortal realm expert would be fearful of it. When Lu Xiao and the others saw Ning Fan's return and saw his soaring baleful chi, they knew that Ning Fan must have killed the 9 ancestors and 18 kings. All of them were extremely shocked. The current Ning Fan gave them an extremely unfamiliar feeling. That cold smile of his was too bloodthirsty, making them shudder in fear. Mu Whaleyong had been completely resurrected, but she had yet to wake up. The undying tree had completely withered and its life force had dissipated completely. "Master, you're back. I thought you would die. I was so scared." Seeing Ning Fan return safely, the rogue devil was so happy that tears flowed down his face. Don't misunderstand. The reason why he was worried about Ning Fan's death was because Ning Fan had planted a mental seal on him. Ning Fan was the master. If the master dies, the servant will certainly die. He was afraid that he would be implicated by Ning Fan and die because of him. Devil. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with blood-red light. He looked at the rogue devil with a cold smile and pointed a finger at him. In an instant he turned into his blood devil form. The sword light from his finger was enough to kill the rogue devil instantly. Seeing this, the rogue devil was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He could not withstand this sword light at all. He would definitely die. At the critical moment, Ning Fan's eyes suddenly revealed a hint of struggle. He waved his hand and sent the blood-red sword light far away, avoiding the rogue devil. The destructive power of the sword instantly flattened the land of millions of li. Blood light soared into the sky. "Brother Biscuit, something is wrong. Brother Biscuit, look at me quickly. I'm Ming K. Don't you recognize me?" Ming Kei's face was filled with anxiety. At this moment, Ning Fan actually made her feel so unfamiliar. As soon as he saw her, the blood devil licked his lips. He actually wanted to eat this pill devil in one bite. At the next moment, the blood devil could not help but beat his own chest. The sword light from his finger made a bloody hole on his chest. It slightly dispersed the devil sense. Ning Fan withdrew from his blood devil form. His eyes became clear again. How could he bear to hurt Ming Kei? Now that the devil sense had already penetrated deep into his heart, he could only slightly disperse the devil sense by severely injuring himself and temporarily regain some of his sanity. Is this the price you have to pay for using the weapon dispelling sword technique? Is it worth it? Si Wuxia bit her lips. If her true body was here, she might have a way to help Ning Fan suppress the devil sense. However, her clone could not help Ning Fan at all. Is it worth it? Ning Fan smiled bitterly. He would still smile. Step by step, he walked towards the green coffin. Looking at Mu Weiliang in the coffin, he felt slightly relieved. He had said that he would not let her die again. Now, did he manage to fulfill that promise? Little butterfly. Little butterfly. As if sensing Ning Fan's approach, Mu Weiliang gently opened her eyes. Her pure eyes looked at Ning Fan with confusion, puzzlement, and joy. You are little butterfly. Who am I? All of her incomplete memories were given to Ning Fan, allowing him to see the scene of the destruction of the heavenly court. The current her had forgotten everything. The only person she remembered was Ning Fan. Only that butterfly was left. Even if she forgot everything, she would never forget that butterfly. She remembered that she had waited for little butterfly for a very long time. Today, she had finally arrived. You are Mu Weiliang. Liang. She gently supported her body and sat up from the green coffin. Ning Fan quickly supported her and carried her out of the coffin. From today onwards, she would no longer need this green coffin. However, a scene that surprised Ning Fan appeared in front of him. Mu Weiliang left the green coffin and walked with light steps. After taking the first step, her body gradually became shorter and her appearance became immature. Her face that was originally 16 years old suddenly became 12 years old. She took another step and her appearance and body changed again, turning into 9 years old. Another step and she became 6 years old. The 6 years old Mu Weiliang looked like a little girl and shyly held Ning Fan's hand. She remembered that this was her little butterfly. She did not want to let go of his hand. Little butterfly, why did I become shorter? She tilted her head, expressing her confusion. Ning Fan frowned and looked at Si Wuxia with the same puzzlement. Her new soul has yet to grow and it is still very weak. Her body also cooperated with her soul and turned into a child. Only by consuming the immortal soul grass can her soul be nourished and grow again. Immortal soul grass? Can you get some? Ning Fan asked with a frown. No, this grass can only be found in the Eastern Heaven immortal world. In the Eastern Heaven, there is an immortal soul star. There is a race called the soul race that specializes in growing this grass. However, the soul race has already been annihilated. I don't know if this grass can still be found. Si Wuxia sighed. Little butterfly? I can't grow up anymore? Mu Weiliang revealed a dejected expression. After reconstructing her new soul, her mental age seemed to have become younger, completely becoming a younger version of Mu Weiliang. No, you will grow up. Believe me, the immortal soul grass. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and kept the green coffin into his storage pouch. He looked at the spoils of war near the undying tree and thought for a moment before taking them away one by one. Your evil sense is very troublesome. If you are willing, I can privately give you the quota of ascension and bring you back to the Western Heaven to suppress the evil sense. Although Si Wuxia's tone was cold, Ning Fan could hear a trace of concern in it. No, Ning Fan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Si Wuxia was the saintess of the Western Heaven. It was fine if she publicly gave Ning Fan the quota of ascension, but if she privately gave him the quota, there would be great trouble. He did not want to implicate Si Wuxia. Of course, if she publicly gave Ning Fan the quota, Ning Fan would inevitably be investigated by the Kunlun Jade Pool. Once his identity as the ancient devil is exposed, there was almost no chance for him to survive in the Western Heaven. The Buddhist sect of the Western Heaven would surely kill the ancient devil as soon as possible. Humph. You don't want it. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. Si Wuxia knitted her brows, feeling somewhat displeased. What is evil sense? Can you suppress the evil sense if you eat more delicious food? I have a lot of delicious food here. I'll give them all to you. Ming Ke untied the storage pouch that was filled with spiritual herbs and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan waved his hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. In Ming Ke's mind, eating is omnipotent. Rumble. The ground of the 33 heavens suddenly trembled. As it trembled, a wave of life immortal realm aura force swept towards Ning Fan and the others. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's expression changed greatly. Junior, you really have guts. Not only did you kill all the members of my immortal burial clan, but you also obstructed my resurrection plan. Tell me, how should I punish you? Rumble. 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 There was actually a life immortal expert sleeping under the ground of the 33 heavens. That life immortal expert was punching the seal on the ground, trying to break free from this place. Pill Devil and the woman who absorbed the light from my undying tree. Leave these two women behind and I'll spare your life. What do you think? Rumble. 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 The ground was cracking bit by bit. A ferocious man was slowly breaking free from the seal. His killing intent had already locked onto Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang. I've received information that the 9 ancestors and 18 kings of the immortal burial clan have gone to great lengths to resurrect their ancestor, Ancient Zong. It said that Ancient Zong was a quasi-emperor when he was at his peak. Now that his resurrection plan has been ruined by us, he has only recovered to the life immortal realm, but he's still not someone we can fight against. We must escape from the ancient heavenly court before he breaks the seal. Si Wuxia's expression showed a hint of panic. A quasi-emperor was just a step away from becoming an immortal emperor. Even if such a person had just been resurrected and had yet to recover to his peak, no one on the scene could fight him. We can't fight this person. All of you, enter this world. I'll be responsible for escaping. Ning Fan touched the Yuan Yao Jade and sent Si Wuxia, Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang into the Yuan Yao world. He also kept the rogue devil into the devil's sealing pouch. Without saying a word, he healed the bloody hole on Black Star's chest. The devil sense that had dispersed in his body slowly gathered again. He turned into a blood devil once again and lost all his rationality. Weapon disintegration. Even the bloodthirsty blood devil would not dare to fight against the ancestor of Ancient Zong. Without saying a word, he turned into a ray of blood light and dashed towards the 32nd floor. Oh, his speed isn't slow, but he might not be able to escape from my palm. Open. Boom! After a loud bang, a 10,000 li abyss appeared on the ground. A young man with white hair licked his lips as he looked at the direction where Ning Fan was heading. Let's see how long you can run for, Junior. Chi, the white-haired young man, chased after Ning Fan. 32nd floor, 31st floor, 30th floor. Ning Fan continued to use the weapon disintegration technique to maintain his blood devil body. The burden on the talisman became greater and greater. However, the white-haired young man had a determined look on his face. He firmly believed that even if he had not recovered to his peak, it would still be easy for him to capture a junior who was at the 6th shattering realm. In the 29th floor of the ancient heavenly court, Heaven World, Chang Shan looked at the destroyed ghost-raising formation and felt a chill run down his spine. This was the ghost-raising formation that the ancestor had spent a lot of effort to set up, but it was destroyed. How was he going to report this to the ancestor when he returned to the sect? He wondered if the ancestor would extract his primordial spirit to concoct pills in a fit of rage. I must capture the pill devil and bring him back to the sect to atone for my sins. Last time, I was careless and was ambushed by the white-robed lady. This time, I'm well prepared. I can definitely bring the pill devil away. Oh? I didn't expect the pill devil to already be at the 30th floor. He's already at the 29th floor. Chang Shan held the compass in his hand and located the direction of the pill devil. Then, he dashed towards a certain direction. A few days later, he sensed an extremely familiar presence in front of him from afar. It was Ning Fan's presence. I found him. Capturing this young man is the same as capturing the pill devil. He's just a 6th break realm cultivator. If I sneak attack him, it'll be as easy as flipping my palm. Chang Shan swallowed a medicinal pill and concealed his figure, hiding in this place. From afar, a blood-red escaping light was getting closer and closer. That escaping light gave Chang Shan an uneasy feeling. He felt that something was out of his control. He didn't think too much about it. When the blood-red escaping light got closer, he jumped out and stood in front of Ning Fan and sneered. "Junior, hand over the pill devil and I'll let you die in one piece." As soon as his words fell, he was shocked. The person he stopped wasn't Ning Fan but a devil that was shrouded in blood-red light. No, to be more precise, this person was indeed Ning Fan. However, the situation seemed a little strange. The baleful qi on Ning Fan's body was so strong that it made Chang Shan panic. The pressure from Ning Fan's body was as heavy as a mountain, causing Chang Shan to be unable to breathe. This was too absurd. He was a dignified rogue immortal. How could he show his fear in front of a 6th break realm cultivator? "Those who stand in my way shall die." Ning Fan, who had turned into a blood devil, had no intention of talking nonsense with Chang Shan. Subconsciously, Ning Fan remembered that Chang Shan was an enemy. Thus, he naturally wouldn't stop the devil sense from killing him. The blood devil lifted his finger and pointed. Countless blood-red light immediately slashed at Chang Shan. The fierce wind pressure made Chang Shan's face hurt. His eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't understand how Ning Fan, who had just broken his 6th break realm, could perform such a stunning sword attack. However, he should be able to withstand this sword attack. After all, he was a dignified rogue immortal. After consuming a few pills, Chang Shan's cultivation base skyrocketed. He was extremely conceited and used his hand to extinguish the sword light. In the next moment, he was slashed into meat paste by the blood-red sword light with a confident expression on his face. Only his primordial spirit was left. He rolled up his storage pouch in horror and escaped from his corpse. His body was shivering. Weapon disintegration. He has already disintegrated. How is this possible? How did he maintain the state of disintegration and escape? Why didn't his physical body collapse? Trying to escape. The blood devil revealed a cold smile. A blood-red light flashed and swallowed Chang Shan's primordial spirit. Storage pouch? After thinking for a while, he decided to keep it. That was Ning Fan's will. Ning Fan suspected that Chang Shan had a secret treasure that could search for Bright Sparrow. He was going to destroy that treasure. Chang Shan couldn't believe that he was killed instantly by Ning Fan, who he had always looked down upon. After killing Chang Shan, the blood devil continued to flee to the lower levels without saying a word. Behind him, a white-haired young man was chasing after him. He killed every demonic beast and devil beast he encountered and drank their blood to recover his strength. His cultivation base was recovering bit by bit. "You can't run away." The white-haired young man smiled coldly, revealing his white teeth. His teeth were full of beast blood. Chapter 682. In the 19th level of the ancient heavenly court, a black-armored old man was looking for the heavenly gate that led to the 20th level of the heaven realm. He was walking on the ground. His pace was not fast, but every step he took could cover a distance of millions of li. He was a rogue devil old monster. If Ning Fan was here, he would definitely recognize him. He was the rogue devil old monster of the Summoned River sect. Humph. Those 4 heavens cultivators didn't expect me to come back. I saw them leave with my own eyes. Now that Ning Fan doesn't have any strong reinforcements around him, it's the best time for me to kill him. As long as I kill that junior, the old ancestor's anger will subside. He won't blame me for Han Yetian's death. The old man sneered. Suddenly, he stopped walking and looked at the sky. He sensed a whistling, escaping light approaching from afar. If his senses were not wrong, the owner of that escaping light was definitely Ning Fan. Humph. I've been looking for you for a few years. I finally found you. The old man sneered. He leaped into the sky and stood in midair. A blood-red escaping light was approaching from afar. Without saying a word, the old man lifted his finger and pointed. Heaven and earth shook violently. A 10,000 zhang finger light pressed towards the person in the bloody light. The finger light shot towards the sky. Wind and smoke rose in all directions. The old man flicked his sleeve to disperse the smoke in front of him. He looked at the shattered bloody light and sneered. Is he dead? But now, he turned around and was about to return to the summoned river sect in the ancient demon's abyss. Suddenly, his back was drenched in cold sweat. He turned his head in disbelief. The shattered crimson light instantly condensed into a blood demon with a sneer on his face. The blood devil looked at the rogue devil old monster as if he was looking at a delicacy. He licked his lips ferociously. Enemy. A blood-red sword light flashed and the blood demon turned into a whistling sword rainbow. It pierced through the scattered demon old man's body and appeared behind him. He then appeared behind the rogue devil old monster, holding the storage pouch and primordial spirit. He swallowed the primordial spirit and kept the storage pouch. Then he sneered and fled to the next level. In the next moment, the rogue devil old monster's body exploded into a mist of blood. The scene was chilling. You sure run fast. A white-haired youth arrived soon after. With a sinister smile, he continued to chase. Ancient Heavenly Court, 9th Heaven Realm. The cultivators of the 9 realms, led by 7 rogue immortal patriarchs, were searching for treasures in this layer. From the 1st floor to the 9th floor, their eyes were filled with shock. The heavenly gate was destroyed, leaving only the passageway. There were traces everywhere, all of which were caused by the battle. In the first 9 levels, there was not a single living member of the immortal burial clan. Such a strange thing caused many old monsters who had entered the ancient heavenly court many times to be extremely shocked. Someone had destroyed the heavenly gate. Someone had slaughtered layer after layer of the immortal burial clan. Who was it? Is it really Ning Fan? Other than Ning Fan, who else could it be? This generation's Reign Emperor is truly a terrifying figure. The itinerant immortal old monsters gathered again and sighed at each other. Because Ning Fan was engaged in battles everywhere, it caused the space in the ancient heavenly court to show signs of instability. This time, the ancient heavenly court was probably going to close early. In this old man's opinion, there's no need to go to the 10th layer of the heaven realm. Let's turn back and prepare to leave the heavenly court ruins. I have a bad premonition. I wonder if fellow Taoists have the same feeling. What a coincidence. Recently, I've been feeling uneasy. I keep having the feeling that many things are going to happen. I'm afraid that a great calamity is about to befall this place. We really should leave as soon as possible. Fellow Taoist is right. Let's go. We'll return to where we came from. While they were talking, 2 streaks of blood-red escaping light suddenly approached them from afar. All of a sudden, the 7 itinerant immortal experts revealed a shocked expression. All the void fragmentation realm old monsters raised their heads and looked at the distant sky in disbelief. Among the 2 escaping lights, the first one was a devil whose body was surrounded by blood-red light while the second one was a white-haired young man. The baleful chi on the blood devil was too terrifying. No one knew how many itinerant immortals and void fragmentation realm experts he had killed. Just a trace of baleful chi was enough to make everyone here shudder. There was also an invisible sense of oppression coming from his body. The old Crimson Sovereign and the other itinerant immortal old ancestors felt a chill down their spines when they met the eyes of the Blood Devil. It was as if it was a piece of cake for this Blood Devil to kill them. It's Brother Ning, Lu Haoyue said in a deep voice. His eyes were filled with worry. He was the first one who recognized that the Blood Devil was Ning Fan. Moreover, he could tell that Ning Fan's current state was very abnormal. However, the Blood Devil fled too fast. In just an instant he had already gone millions of li away from them. He did not give Lu Haoyue a chance to ask about it. As soon as they heard that the Blood Devil was Ning Fan, all of the old monsters present were shocked. When they looked at the white-haired young man who was chasing after the blood devil, all of their faces turned pale. Life Immortal Realm. That white-haired young man was actually a Life Immortal Realm expert. Moreover, at the moment when they looked at the white-haired young man, he had already locked his killing intent on everyone here. Moreover, 2 Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the Devil World were directly captured by the white-haired young man and eaten alive. Delicious. The white-haired young man stopped his escaping light. He was not in a hurry to continue chasing after the blood devil. He stood in midair and looked at the Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the 9 realms beneath his feet. He licked his lips and blood seeped out from the corner of his lips. His eyes were so evil and cold that it sent chills down everyone's spine, including the 7 itinerant immortal old ancestors. He lightly stepped on the sky and set up a barrier within a radius of 10 million li. No one could escape. Senior, who are you? Why did you kill the cultivators of my devil world? One of the itinerant devil old ancestors mustered up his courage and asked, Who am I? Do you have the right to know? You are just a bait. You talk too much. The white-haired young man made a suction force from the void and pulled the itinerant devil old ancestor into his palm. Then, he opened his mouth and swallowed the itinerant devil old ancestor. Hiss! A chill rose in everyone's heart. That was the itinerant devil old ancestor. However, he was eaten by the Life Immortal without any resistance. I didn't expect there to be a Life Immortal in the ancient heavenly court. Moreover, this Life Immortal is an extremely terrifying devil lord. Leave now. We need to leave now. We can't leave. There is a barrier within 10 million li. We will definitely die. Each of the Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters revealed a look of despair. This white-haired young man was a dignified Life Immortal. In front of a true immortal, Void Fragmentation Realm experts were nothing. Even if everyone here joined forces, they wouldn't be able to withstand a single strike from this white-haired young man. Let's go all out. The old Crimson Sovereign let out a deep sigh and took a step forward. Today was already a situation of certain death. Only by taking a gamble would they have a chance of survival. Lu Haoyue smiled bitterly. He was afraid that he would lose his life here today. Chi, the sound of countless rays of sword light piercing through the air spread across the vast sky, extending to 10 million li. A blood-red light covered the sky. The barrier within 10 million li had already been destroyed. Ning Fan, who had turned into a blood devil, had returned to help Lu Haoyue and the others. Ning Fan gritted his teeth and tried his best to suppress the devil intent in his heart. He could ignore the deaths of everyone here except for Lu Haoyue, whom he considered as a friend. Thus, he could not stand by and watch him die. Oh, you still dare to come back? You really don't know the meaning of death. The white-haired young man licked his lips. He no longer looked at everyone here. His cold eyes swept across Ning Fan and chased after him. Ning Fan gave Lu Haoyue a deep look. Without saying anything, he continued to fly to the next level. Originally, he could abandon Lu Haoyue and the others in exchange for more time to escape. However, he could not abandon Lu Haoyue in the end. After forcefully breaking the barrier of the white-haired young man, Ning Fan's body became even weaker. His speed was greatly reduced. There were several times when the white-haired young man almost caught up to him. Our lives are temporarily safe. It's the evil Cloud Rain Sovereign who saved us. Each of the Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters felt relieved. Their expressions were extremely complicated. Lu Haoyue, on the other hand, clenched his fists tightly and let out a long sigh with his eyes closed. He could see that Ning Fan was already having a hard time escaping from the white-haired young man's pursuit. The reason why he turned back was just to save him. This feeling of appreciation made Lu Haoyue's blood boil in his chest. When he opened his eyes again, his eyes were filled with intense killing intent. I can't help Brother Ning with my current strength. However, if that Life Immortal dares to hurt Brother Ning, I will avenge Brother Ning at all costs and with all my might. The 8th level, the 7th level, the 6th level, Ning Fan's consciousness gradually returned to him. However, because his body was too weak, It was difficult for him to maintain the state of soldier liberation. This was not good news. His speed slowed down again and again. In the second level of the heaven realm, the white-haired young man finally caught up to him. He stopped and looked at the white-haired young man in front of him coldly with a sword in his hand. The white-haired young man narrowed his eyes and stared at Ning Fan without moving. Then he sneered. "Aren't you going to run anymore, Junior? Your body seems to have reached its limit. The corrosion of your devil sense has gone deep and your physical body has already been shattered. No matter how strong your recovery ability is, you can't continue to use that sword technique of desperation. I admire you very much. Hand over the 2 ladies and I will forgive you for your sin of slaughtering the Zhongxian clan. I will spare your life and take you as my slave. I will also appoint you as the great ancestor of the Zhongxian clan. You will follow me to conquer the 4 heavens. What do you think?" The white-haired young man looked at Ning Fan quietly. In his opinion, Ning Fan was not a fool. He should be able to see the gap between them. Under such circumstances, handing over the 2 ladies to protect himself was the wisest choice. Cultivation was a selfish thing in the first place. Ning Fan did not say anything. He was already so weak that he did not even have the strength to speak. He just replied to the white-haired young man with a cold gaze. It was impossible for him to hand over Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang. "Is this your answer? What a pity. A talent like you is really rare." The white-haired young man's figure suddenly became faint. All of a sudden, Ning Fan was alarmed. He gritted his teeth and forcefully activated the weapon disintegration style. His body glowed with a faint blood-red light. He raised his finger and drew a sword. Then he turned around and slashed at his back. The power of this sword light is already less than 30% of its original power. However, even if you use this sword technique when you are at your peak, you won't be able to hurt me at all. Destroy. The white-haired young man suddenly appeared behind Ning Fan. He raised his finger and pointed at the sky. An unimaginable destructive force immediately swept across the entire sky. Large areas of the sky began to crumble, as if it could not withstand the power of the white-haired young man's finger. The sword light of the weapon disintegration style suddenly collapsed. Even the blood-red light around Ning Fan's body also collapsed. Ning Fan's eyes widened in shock. He had a feeling that if he did not dodge that attack, he would certainly die under that finger. The strength of this white-haired young man was too strong. Even though he only revealed his cultivation base at the life immortal realm, the pressure he gave off was even more terrifying than Emperor Xia. In the face of certain death, Ning Fan's body swayed and entered the profound Yin world. Medium Kiliacosm treasure? The white-haired young man frowned. As soon as he entered the profound Yin world, Ning Fan suddenly fell to the ground and coughed out blood incessantly. Luo Yu's face was pale. She hurriedly rushed to Ning Fan's side and carried him up. Then, she said bitterly, that person's true cultivation base is at the quasi-emperor realm. He is too strong. Even if I am at my peak, I won't be his match. You are not his match, I know. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. How could he not see how strong the white-haired young man was? He was the dignified ancestor of the immortal Burying clan and a mighty quasi-emperor realm expert. Even in the 4 heavens, he was also a figure who could summon the wind and rain. If it is possible, he would not want to provoke such a strong enemy. If that person asks for Ning Fan's worldly possessions, Ning Fan would hand them over after weighing the pros and cons. Only Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang could not be handed over to him. He could only hide in the profound Yin world for 3 months. After 3 months, he would still have to leave this world and confront that person. By then, that person might have already sealed off the vast sky and he would no longer have a chance to escape. He could not stay in the profound Yin world for a long time. He had to leave immediately and escape to the first floor. He just needed to fight for a while more and he would be able to leave the ancient heavenly court. Bing Jie. Ning Fan's eyes instantly turned blood red. He turned into a blood devil and instantly left the profound Yin world. Without saying a word, he fled towards the first floor of the heavenly gate. At first, The white-haired young man wanted to set up a barrier here and wait for Ning Fan to leave the world of the medium-grade cosmos treasure. The medium-grade cosmos was the abode of an immortal emperor. It was not a place where a cultivator at the sixth break realm could stay for a long time. The white-haired young man knew that Ning Fan would be forced to leave the medium-grade cosmos soon. At that time, he would be able to kill him. Initially, he thought that Ning Fan would heal his injuries in the medium-grade cosmos. However, he did not expect that Ning Fan would immediately leave the cosmos treasure after dodging a strike from the cosmos treasure. It might seem unwise, but it was actually a wise move. Unfortunately, I can't use this person. If that's the case, there's no point in keeping him alive. The white-haired young man muttered to himself coldly. He took a step forward and his body split into 1,000,000 clones. Each of the 1,000,000 clones sneered coldly and surrounded Ning Fan, blocking all his escape routes. Ning Fan's expression changed drastically. He gritted his teeth and dashed forward. However, he was forced back by a finger attack from one of the white-haired clones. I can't escape anymore, huh? Ning Fan gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with madness. He stared at the 1,000,000 clones of the white-haired young man fearlessly, just like how he looked at immortal Emperor Zhang Qing in his previous life. If I can't escape, I will make this person pay a terrible price even if I have to risk my life. Obsession. 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 His eyes were filled with a crazy obsession. That obsession contained an unfathomable power which actually shocked the white-haired young man. After suppressing this absurd emotion, the true body of the white-haired young man took a step forward and ordered Ning Fan coldly. Hand over those two women. My patience has run out. Ning Fan did not say anything else. He ignited the first drop of Fu Li ancestral blood, followed by the second drop, the third drop and the fourth drop. He ignited the first drop of Mo Luo ancestral blood, then the second drop, the third drop and the fourth drop. Finally, he ignited his primordial spirit. His chi was erratic. Sometimes, it was at the sixth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Sometimes, it was at the life immortal realm and sometimes, it was infinitely close to the true immortal realm. The expression of the white-haired young man changed drastically. He quickly withdrew his 1,000,000 clones and took half a step back. The ancestral blood of the demon race. The ancestral blood of the devil race. You have ignited a total of 8 drops of ancestral blood. Are you crazy? Do you know the consequences of doing so? Ning Fan might be able to severely injure the white-haired young man by igniting 8 drops of ancestral blood at the same time. However, his cultivation base was limited and he could not withstand the power of the 8 drops of ancestral blood. He would certainly die after that. Moreover, Ning Fan ignited his primordial spirit. He was warning the white-haired young man that he was no longer prepared to live. He was risking his life. If he gives up his life, he would certainly make the white-haired young man pay a terrible price. Sigh. It seems like I have no choice but to take action. If I don't, you, a junior, are going to die here. A long sigh suddenly resounded beside Ning Fan. Ning Fan turned around abruptly. Unknowingly, an elderly man wearing a gray cloak was standing beside him. That elderly man kept the spiritual cloak into his body, revealing his true appearance. He was dressed in gray robes. His face and body were filled with demon marks. His pale white hair was tied into an ancient hairstyle of the demon race. There were many small braids hanging down from his temples. His eyes were like the abyss of hell, bottomless. The elderly man placed one of his hands on Ning Fan's shoulder. The primordial spirit and ancestral blood that Ning Fan ignited were immediately extinguished. I am the great elder of the immemorial Dark Sparrow race, Tai Wu. My lineage has always been the slaves of the Princess Si Tsong since ancient times. You don't have to worry that I will harm you. I will handle this matter. From the beginning, Tai Wu had been secretly following Ning Fan and carefully protecting Ming Quebec. When he first saw Ming Ke and Ning Fan being intimate, he was very displeased. He thought how could his master be so close to a junior who had lost his 6 cultivation bases. Later on, when he saw Ning Fan's resolute killing and his unwillingness to hand over Ming Ke to his death, he began to admire this young man. In the end, when he saw that Ning Fan actually had 8 drops of ancestral blood, he could not help but be shocked. He suddenly realized that Ning Fan was not an ordinary person. 8 drops of ancestral blood, 4 demons and 4 devils. Moreover, the 4 drops of demon blood were actually the ancestral blood of the Forbidden Clan. This person's identity was too terrifying. The white-haired young man was a pill devil. He was not from the demon race. Thus, he could not identify the type of ancestral blood of the demon race. However, Tai Wu would never be wrong. The immemorial Dark Sparrow clan was one of the few large clans that knew about Fu Li. Fu Li, an ancestor of Fu Li with 4 drops of ancestral blood. This identity was enough for him to have a relationship with his master. His master seemed to value Ning Fan a lot. Since that was the case, Tai Wu could not just sit and watch Ning Fan be in trouble. "Who are you? Are you trying to stop me?" The white-haired young man said coldly. "Guzong, you don't have to put on an act in front of me. When I was in charge of the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan, you were just a useless immortal pill." Tai Wu's eyes flashed with disdain and he took a step forward. When he took the first step, his cultivation base rose from the rogue immortal realm to the life immortal realm. When he took the second step, his cultivation base instantly rose from the life immortal realm to the true immortal realm. When he took the third step, his cultivation base was only a step away from the immortal emperor realm. When he took the third step, the entire ancient heavenly court shook violently as if it was going to collapse. A wave of aura force that was as heavy as a mountain pressed down on the white-haired young man's head. In an instant he was forced to retreat while coughing out blood. How is this possible? Gu Zhang's expression changed drastically. How could he not see that the gray-robed old man in front of him was far stronger than him? Putting aside the fact that he only had the cultivation base of a life immortal realm expert when he was resurrected. Even if he was at his peak and had the cultivation base of a quasi-emperor realm expert, his strength would still be weaker than this person. "How dare you show killing intent towards me? You deserve to die." Immemorial Dark Wheel, open. Tai Wu pointed his finger. Suddenly, a gigantic pitch-black ring appeared in the sky above him. Then, a second ring appeared outside the ring. Countless ancient voices chanting demon scriptures could be heard coming from the second ring. Ning Fan's eyes widened in shock. This technique was the spirit wheel technique of the ancient demon clan. What Tai Wu displayed was the dark wheel of the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan. The 2 dark wheels rotated and a black light pillar that was 1,000,000 zhang in diameter descended from the sky, enveloping the white-haired young man within it. In just an instant, the white-haired young man was frozen into a black ice cube. In the entire ancient heavenly court's 33 heavens, starting from the first heaven, all the other heavens were frozen and turned into a world of black ice. The slight chill in the air almost made Ning Fan's blood freeze. This is the power of the spirit wheel. Ning Fan's eyes widened. Tai Wu looked at the dead ancient Zhang and let out a cold snort. Then he kept his spirit wheel. He turned his head and looked at Ning Fan with a friendly smile. "Little friend, you can summon Ming Ke now. This place is already safe." Ning Fan took half a step back. His eyes were filled with vigilance and he did not summon Ming Quebec. The person in front of him might really be a member of the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan. However, he could not tell whether he was a friend or foe. "Are we all friends even if we are from the same clan? Who told you that?" Little friend, you have such a strong vigilance." Tai Wu smiled bitterly. Inwardly, he was even more satisfied with Ning Fan. If Ning Fan simply summons Ming Ke when he meets a member of the Dark Sparrow clan, he would be a fool. However, I have a way to make little friend trust me. Tai Wu closed his eyes and activated the slave seal in his bloodline while muttering. Not long after, Ming Ke's joyful voice suddenly resounded from the Yuan Yao Jade. "Brother Biscuit, quickly let me out. One of my servants came to find me. He said that he brought me a lot of delicious food. If there isn't enough delicious food, I will directly activate the slave seal and torture him to death." Chapter 683. Slave imprint? You have a way to control the life and death of a quasi-emperor? Ning Fan asked with a frown. Of course. I'm the reincarnation of Seedsong. All of Seedsong's descendants are my servants. I can decide their life and death with just a word. I can even control their every action. I'm powerful, aren't I? Little Ming Ke said proudly. Are you serious? Your servant is right next to me. Ning Fan was still in disbelief. Next to you? All right. If Brother Biscuit doesn't believe me, I'll demonstrate it to you. Next, I'll make that servant roll on the ground. Roll on the ground. Ming Ke gave Tai Wu an order from the other side of the Yuan Yao world. Her voice was transmitted. Only Ning Fan could hear it. Tai Wu could not hear it. However, Tai Wu could not help but roll on the sea of clouds in an instant. His old face was filled with helplessness. How could he not know that it was his little ancestor who was torturing him? A dignified quasi-emperor was rolling on the sea of clouds in front of Ning Fan. Sigh, Ning Fan was speechless. He believed Ming Ke's words. If a quasi-emperor really harbors evil intentions towards Ming Ke, he could use other methods to snatch her away. There was no need for him to lower himself and roll on the ground. Even a harmonious spirit realm cultivator would not do such a humiliating thing, let alone the great elder of the Bright Sparrow clan. He stroked the Yuan Yao jade and released Ming Quebec. Then he asked her to rescind the order to stop Tai Wu from embarrassing himself. After all, he had his dignity. He transmitted his voice to everyone in the Yuan Yao world, telling them that the danger had passed, which made Si Wuxie and the others feel slightly relieved. Ming Ke stood beside Ning Fan and looked at Tai Wu in confusion. This old man who is rolling on the ground is my demon slave? He looks so ugly. After Ming Ke gave the order, Tai Wu finally stopped rolling on the ground. He stood up with a bitter smile and looked at Ning Fan with shame. When his eyes fell on Ming Ke, they were filled with respect. Without saying anything, he cupped his fists and bowed. Tai Gu greets my king. Ming Ke ignored Tai Wu. She turned to look at Ning Fan and bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with heartache. Ning Fan's injuries are very, very serious. At this moment, it was as if it was strenuous for him to speak another word, but he still forced himself to stand. However, he wasn't standing stably. His body was trembling uncontrollably, as if he would fall off the cloud at any moment. Ming Ke carefully supported Ning Fan. Her eyes suddenly flashed with monstrous killing intent. She stared at Tai Wu with extreme dignity. You hurt him. Your Majesty, please allow me to report. His injuries were not caused by me, but by Immortal Burial Tribe's progenitor of ancient Zong. He has already been killed by me. Tai Wu's forehead was drenched in sweat as he quickly explained. It's not him. He's the one who saved us. Ning Fan lifted his hand with great difficulty and patted Ming Ke's head. Then he shook his head with a smile. After severing his 7 emotions, every time he smiled, it was not from his heart. In theory, those who had lost their 7 emotions should be expressionless. However, who said that one couldn't smile if they were unhappy, and that one couldn't cry if they were not sad? But who made the rule that one couldn't feel sorrow if they lost their 7 emotions? Can't feel anger? His heart might not be able to feel it, but how could he not feel it in the depths of his soul? Oh, so you're a good old man who saved my brother Biscuit? Ming Ke revealed a smile and praised Tai Wu. Not bad. Even though you're a little ugly, you're still useful. Tai Wu's forehead was filled with black lines. He was once one of the handsome youths on the Ming-Luan demon continent when he was young. Even though he was old now, he still had white hair and a youthful complexion. In Ming Ke's eyes, he was actually very ugly. Fine. If he's ugly, then so be it. He would not dare to talk back to his master. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned blood red. The devil sense was acting up again. His eyes dimmed and his expression was filled with pain. He was already on the verge of losing control. Ming Ke was so anxious that she burst into tears. She had never seen Ning Fan show such a painful expression. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? My king, don't panic. This young man is just being devoured by the devil sense. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. He won't die for at least 100 years. Tai Wu smiled apologetically. His words accidentally ignited the flames of anger in Ming Kei's heart. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Brother Biscuit is about to die and you still say it's not a problem. How dare you? My brother Biscuit is already in such a state and you still dare to laugh. My king, please calm down. Tai Wu was shocked. He quickly stopped smiling and said with a tearful face. Actually, I have a way to help him suppress the devil sense temporarily. It won't be a problem for him to live for 1,000 years. No. I won't allow him to die. Not even 1,000 years. Can you save him? If you can, then save him immediately. I can only help him seal the devil sense for 1,000 years at most. The devil sense is born in the heart and it must be destroyed in the heart. In the end, he still has to rely on himself to dissolve the devil sense. Besides, sealing the devil sense requires the power of my clan's immemorial dark wheel. According to the rules of my clan, those who aren't members of my clan can't use the power of the dark wheel to save others. Tai Wu said with a bitter smile. Who said he isn't a member of my clan? I'm the king and he's the queen. Ming Kei was so anxious that her speech became somewhat incoherent. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. He was a good man, but he actually became the queen of Ming Kei. He patted her head, hinting her to stop yelling at Tai Wu. He gently removed his arm from Ming Kei's embrace and cupped his fists at Tai Wu. Because of all the reasons, although Ming Kei is the reincarnation of a noble princess, she still has a child's heart. I hope Senior can forgive her for offending you. She is the reincarnation of my king. How would I dare to blame her? I'm the king's servant. All punishments and beatings are natural to me. Even if I have to sacrifice my life for the king, I'm willing to do so. However, I've seen some changes in the king's body and have some speculations. It seems like a junior has schemed against my king. Little friend, do you know who did it? Tai Wu's eyes flashed with coldness. How could he not see that Ming Kei was the combination of Seed Song and the Pill Devil? Moreover, this combination was man-made. With his eyesight, he could vaguely tell that the one who schemed against Ming Kei was a junior at the True Crossing Realm. A mere True Crossing Realm cultivator dared to scheme against the king of the immemorial Dark Sparrow. He was simply courting death. We'll talk about this later. Senior, can you help me seal the devil sense? Ning Fan asked politely. Of course. How would I dare to disobey my king's order? Tai Wu rolled up his sleeves and everyone landed on the ground. Little friend, please close your eyes and try your best to keep the devil sense in your heart. I will use the power of my clan's dark wheel to help you seal the devil sense for 1,000 years. Within 1,000 years, you can slowly remove the devil sense. With your 6th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivation base, you will be able to remove the devil sense in 1 to 200 years at most. As soon as Tai Wu finished speaking, he pointed a finger at Ning Fan's chest and activated the power of the dark wheel to help Ning Fan seal the devil sense. Ning Fan closed his eyes and used the power of the dark wheel in his body to gather the devil sense. Ming Kei, on the other hand, looked at the two of them nervously and threatened Tai Wu from time to time. Smelly old man, if you can't seal Brother Biscuit's devil sense, I'll make you roll around here for the rest of your life. Don't worry, my king. I will certainly do my best to save the queen whom my king has taken a fancy to. Tai Wu chuckled. Ming Kei nodded her head in satisfaction at his words, but Ning Fan's face turned pale. Queen again? Time passed by bit by bit. The devil sense in Ning Fan's body gradually gathered in his heart and was sealed by the power of the dark wheel. The power of the dark wheel could last for 1,000 years. Ning Fan only needed to remove the devil sense one by one within 1,000 years. Little friend, from today onwards, you can't use that sword technique anymore. If you allow the devil sense to erupt again, you might not necessarily be able to meet an expert like me to help you. Tai Wu reminded him with a solemn look. He had been following Ning Fan from the beginning until now. He naturally saw how Ning Fan disarmed himself and risked his life to kill his enemies. From today onwards, Ning Fan must give up on using the weapon disarming style until the day when his cultivation base was so high that he no longer feared the devil sense. I can't use the weapon disarming style anymore, huh? Ning Fan smiled bitterly. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, why would he use the weapon disarming style to risk his life? Even though the devil sense had been suppressed, Ning Fan's body was still very weak. Tai Wu took out a 9th revolution healing pill and gave it to Ning Fan. Then, he took out many spiritual herbs that were hundreds of thousands of years old and fed them to Ming Quebec. After that, he transformed into a 1,000,000 zhang large immemorial dark sparrow which carried Ning Fan and Ming Ke to the first floor. Before leaving, Ning Fan kept the ancient Zong corpse that had turned into black ice. No matter what, it was still the corpse of a life-immortal realm expert. If Nye Li ate it, Nye Li's cultivation would probably increase by quite a bit. Wow. Old man, you fly really fast. Seeing that Ning Fan was temporarily out of danger, Ming Ke felt relieved. While gnawing on the rare spiritual herbs, she looked at the rapidly changing scenery around her. In just 10 breaths' time, they had already flown out of the ancient heavenly court from the 2nd floor. Tai Wu's speed was much faster than Ning Fan's. After returning to the upper level of the broken domain, Tai Wu returned to his human form and helped Ning Fan digest the power of the pills to heal his injuries. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the ground. While healing his injuries, he told Tai Wu about the sect master of the pill sect plotting against Ming Quebec. When he heard that Chang Shan, the rogue immortal who attacked Ming Ke, was a member of the pill sect, Tai Wu was enraged. When he heard that the sect master of the pill sect was trying to refine his princess into a pill, his eyes flashed with cold light. The pill sect of the Eastern Heaven immortal world. If it wasn't for the fact that my Dark Sparrow clan is the leader of the demon race and is the public enemy of the 4 heavens, I would certainly go to the Eastern Heaven and annihilate that pill sect. When Ming Ke heard that she had been repeatedly plotted against by someone, she pouted her small mouth which was full of spiritual herbs. She was so shocked that she could not close her mouth. What? I was actually plotted against by someone and I actually didn't know about it. Ning Fan looked at little Ming Ke speechlessly and thought to himself. You are just a little foodie. It would be strange if you knew about it. After thinking for a while, he took out a compass from his storage pouch. That compass was found in Chang Shan's storage pouch. This compass seems to be made by the sect master of the pill sect. It seems like it can locate Ming Ke's location. Ning Fan passed the compass to Tai Wu. The killing intent in Tai Wu's eyes intensified as he held the compass. Without saying much, he crushed the compass and activated his demon power. The compass reformed. After it was reformed, the function of the compass had changed. It could locate the whereabouts of the sect master of the pill sect. As long as you hold this compass, you will be able to locate the sect master of the pill sect. Little friend, do you want this compass? What he wanted was to accept the mission to avenge Ming Ke and use the power of the compass to seek revenge for the sect master of the pill sect. After all, Tai Wu's identity was special. If he sneaks into the Eastern Heaven, he would probably be killed by the immortal emperors in the Eastern Heaven before he can reach the pill sect. Ning Fan was probably the only one who could take revenge. If he doesn't want it, Tai Wu would not force Ning Fan. I want it. However, the current me is no match for the sect master of the pill sect. I'm afraid I can only use this compass in the future. Ning Fan did not say much. He took the compass and kept it. Tai Wu suddenly said, I want to bring the king back to the Bright Sparrow clan. What do you think? Without waiting for Ning Fan to answer, Ming Ke glared at Tai Wu. Hey, I don't want to go back. Unless Brother Biscuit also goes. Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan hopefully. However, Ning Fan shook his head with a smile. I don't plan to go to the demon spirit land for the time being. Then I won't go either. Smelly old man, there's nothing else for you to do here. You can go back now. Bright Sparrow waved her hand as though she was dismissing Tai Wu. Tai Wu smiled bitterly. He looked at Ning Fan, signaling him to speak up for him. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He remained silent. After a long while, he asked Tai Wu, Is the current Dark Sparrow clan under the control of Si Tsong's lineage? Yes. Tai Wu answered honestly. How many people does Seedsong have? A third of the entire clan. 90% of the experts above the perfected immortal realm come from Seedsong's bloodline. Does that so? Can Bright Sparrow control their life and death with a single thought? Ning Fan asked the question that concerned him the most. Of course, if King returns, no one in the entire clan will dare to harm King in the slightest. Tai Wu guaranteed. He could already tell that Ning Fan was somewhat tempted. He wanted Ming Ke to return to the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan. Ning Fan could not help but be tempted. His heart was filled with worries. The sect leader of the Pill faction was still a ticking time bomb that was waiting for Ming Quebec. Ning Fan could not guarantee that he could protect Ming Ke every time someone from the Pill sect comes. Moreover, if Ning Fan ascends to the immortal world, he probably would not be able to bring Ming Ke along with him. He had given the issue of ascension a lot of thought. He did not plan to go to the ancient devil's abyss, nor did he plan to go to the land of demon spirits. He would probably go to one of the four heavens. He possessed the ancestral blood of Fu Li and Mo Luo. His current cultivation base was still insufficient. If he goes to a place where demons and devils roam freely, it would be hard to guarantee that he would not get into trouble because of the ancestral blood. In comparison, going to the four heavens was slightly safer. Of course, the Western Heaven immortal world was not a consideration. That place was the grave of the ancient devil cultivators. If he goes to the four heavens, how could he bring Ming Ke along? Ming Ke was the immemorial Dark Sparrow. She was the public enemy of the four heavens. If she goes there, would she be killed by an immortal emperor? If he ascends by himself but leaves Ming Ke in the lower world, how could he feel at ease? Little K Air, do you really not want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan and have a look? Ning Fan smiled and stroked Ming Ke's little head. It was his first time using such an intimate form of address. Ming Ke's little face immediately turned red. Her heart thumped wildly. She was Ming Ke and also Seedsong. To be honest, she indeed wanted to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan and have a look. She nodded and thought for a while. Then, she looked at Ning Fan and shook her head reluctantly. She was reluctant to leave Brother Biscuit. Don't you like to eat pill biscuits? I only know how to make 6th Revolution pill biscuits. In the Dark Sparrow clan, they probably have a lot of 9 Revolution pill biscuits too. Don't you want to eat them? It's pill biscuits, all right. You're so stupid. You can't get it right even once. Ming Ke pouted her lips. When she thought that there were 9 Revolution pills in the Dark Sparrow clan that she could eat, her saliva dripped down uncontrollably. After eating 8 or 9 Revolution pills, she would definitely become stronger very quickly. Unimaginably strong. Who asked her physique to be so heaven-defying? However, Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan reluctantly. She swallowed her saliva and shook her head. The biscuits they make are not as good as the ones you make. How is that possible? Ning Fan shook his head and laughed. It's not. It's not. No matter what, I'm not leaving. Are you chasing me away because you don't want me anymore? Ming Ke felt like crying at that moment. The shame in Ning Fan's eyes intensified. He gently pulled her into his arms and patted her back. It's too dangerous here. He did not know how to explain to this little girl how dangerous she was. Since the sect master of the Pill sect did not bring her back this time, he would certainly send more people to capture her. Perhaps he had other ways to find her whereabouts. For example, he could use divination techniques. Or, he might have other compass and secret treasures. What if he personally descends to the rain world? What if he asks for strong reinforcements? What if he sends hundreds of rogue immortals to the rain world? Ning Fan would rather die than see the scene of Ming Ke being taken away. He was willing to risk his life for her. However, there were many things that could not be changed just by risking one's life. If I'm in danger, you will protect me, right? You will always protect me, right? Ming Ke looked at Ning Fan with trust. She knew that no matter what kind of danger she was in, Ning Fan would risk his life to save her. Ning Fan became silent. He could no longer say anything to make Ming Ke leave. Tai Wu sighed helplessly. How could he not see that his king had already fallen deeply in love with Ning Fan? It was just that the person involved did not seem to know what it was. King, there's something you don't know. Just now, this little friend almost died in the hands of an old ancestor of ancient Zhang in order to protect you. What? Ming Kei's small face instantly turned pale. She had no idea that when she was hiding in the Yuan Yao world, Ning Fan had already thought of risking his life in the outside world and ignited his ancestral blood and primordial spirit. If it wasn't because of me, this little friend would have died. Now, there is still a four heavens true immortal who is eyeing you. If you stay by his side. Before Tai Wu finished his words, Ming Kei already knew what he meant. She was not stupid. She was just a little naive. Ming Kei's eyes were filled with fear. If she continues to stay by his side, she will harm him, right? I won't. Ning Fan saw through her thoughts and said decisively. He stared at Tai Wu coldly. He did not like the way this person misled her. He did not want her to feel guilty or unhappy. Tai Wu smiled embarrassedly and avoided Ning Fan's gaze. Ming Kei took a light breath and suddenly smiled. She looked at Ning Fan. Brother Biscuit, let me protect you next time, okay? My cultivation base is so weak. I can't help you at all. I want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan. I want to eat all the treasures of the Dark Sparrow clan. I will become stronger than this stinky old man. I want to protect you. You are my queen. Cough cough. Ning Fan let out a few dry coughs. Facing Ming Kei's bold words, he actually did not know whether to laugh or cry. You are my queen. You are my queen. I am a man, all right? Why should I become someone else's queen? However, Ning Fan believed that with Ming Kei's abnormal physique, she might directly break through to the immortal emperor realm after eating all the treasures of the immemorial Dark Sparrow clan, which was guarded by a quasi-emperor, the Dark Sparrow King, and the Pill Devil physique, which could be considered as 1 in a million among the Pill Devils. Does the sect master of the Pill sect know what kind of monstrously powerful enemy he has created? I've decided. I want to go back to the Dark Sparrow clan. However, not now. I will leave when Brother Biscuit ascends. During this period of time, I want to accompany Grandpa Tree more. Alright. Ming Kei suddenly looked at Tai Wu and smiled evilly. Your name is Tai Wu, isn't it? Little Wu Wu, since you are so powerful, do you have any way to restore the mobility of a tree that has transformed into a loose demon tree? This is a little difficult. Tai Wu's forehead was full of sweat. He had a premonition that Ming Kei was going to arrange a tough task for him again. Just because it's a little difficult, it means you can do it? That's great. Grandpa can finally get rid of the tree body and regain his mobility. Ming Kei's face beamed with joy. Mu Luo had taken care of her growing up. She regarded him as her closest kin. It was really great that she could help Mu Luo get rid of the shackles of the tree body. By the way, little Wu Wu, there's one more thing. Ming Kei's eyes lit up. Tai Wu's forehead was immediately filled with sweat. Is there anything else, King? Do you have any way to resurrect a person who has died for many years and whose remnant soul is in the bamboo? Resurrect? I can't do it. What if I can stabilize her remnant soul and restore her freedom of movement? How about leaving the bamboo forest? This is very difficult. All right. It's decided then. Hold on. Little Wu Wu, this storage pouch of yours is not bad. Can you give it to me? Ming Kei giggled. Of course. If King needs it, I am willing to hand over my life to you. Jin Wu's eyes turned cold. He untied the storage pouch and passed it to Ming Quebec. Very good. Ming Kei giggled. At the next moment, she passed the storage pouch to Ning Fan. A storage pouch of a quasi-emperor. Do you like it? Do you like it? Ning Fan was stunned. Tai Wu was dumbfounded. It was said that a woman's heart would always be open to outsiders. Isn't this a little too open? Ming Kei took his storage pouch and directly gave it to Ning Fan. Even though this storage pouch only contained a few items and the important items were all kept in the clan, this was only for a quasi-emperor. To a cultivator like Ning Fan who was at the Broken Six realm, the items in this storage pouch were a little too precious. Chapter 684. Ming Kei raised her small face and looked at Ning Fan with a grin. Her face was filled with an expression that said, "Quickly praise me." Ning Fan stroked Ming Kei's little head and kept the storage pouch. He did not exchange any pleasantries with her. Instead, his eyes turned gentle and said, "Good girl." Since he could get the storage pouch of a quasi-emperor for free, there was no reason for Ning Fan to reject it. This might be extremely precious to him, but to Tai Wu, it was not worth mentioning. Ning Fan scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense and his eyes instantly turned solemn. There were not many things in the storage bag. On this trip, Tai Wu only brought a few things and a few Dao crystals before leaving the Dark Sparrow clan. Along the way, they passed by a few ruins and found many spirit herbs. The elixirs that Tai Wu fed Bright Sparrow were picked up along the way. All of these spiritual herbs were extremely old. However, in terms of medicinal efficacy, not many of them were useful to Ning Fan. He did not have the time to improve his pill refinement mastery at the moment. Thus, he did not need these spiritual herbs. In the storage pouch, there were a total of 50 million Dao crystals. To Tai Wu, this was just a small amount of money that he kept for setting up formations. To Ning Fan, however, it was a huge fortune. There were 10 bottles of 8th Revolution pills and 3 9th Revolution pills. All of them were healing pills. These healing pills had miraculous effects on the physical body, the nascent soul, and the monstrous soul. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Now, he had enough pills for Luo Yu to heal her primordial spirit. It was a pity that there were no elixirs to increase cultivation in the storage bag. After all, Tai Wu was just going on a journey. He only brought some medicine for his injuries as a backup. What was the use of elixirs to increase cultivation? Besides, even if he did, Tai Wu would only bring pills that could raise the cultivation base of a quasi-emperor. It was impossible for him to bring pills that could raise the cultivation base of a void fragmentation realm cultivator. This is... World Creation Stone, so many. Suddenly, Ning Fan's eyes widened. He saw a small pile of World Creation Stones at the corner of the storage pouch. Not just one, but a pile of them. There was a total of 37 World Creation Stones. 37 World Creating Stones could make 37 small Kiliacosm treasures. In the past, Ning Fan had obtained a World Creation Stone from the Thunder Sovereign which upgraded his Cauldron World into a small Kiliacosm. These World Creation Stones were undoubtedly the best materials for practicing the Vortex technique. Where did Senior get so many World Creating Stones from? Ning Fan remained silent for a while before asking. If Tai Wu had found the World Creation Stone somewhere in the 9 worlds, Ning Fan would like to know the location of that place so that he could search for it again and strive to cultivate his spatial vortex technique to the perfect void vortex realm. These World Creation Stones were taken from Patriarch Dijiang after I left the Dark Sparrow clan and passed by a ruin where I had a dispute with him. The Dijiang clan cultivates the power of space, so it's normal for their clan leader to possess a World Creation Stone. Tai Wu smiled lightly. It was as if snatching something from the Dijiang clan was a matter of course and easy. I see. Ning Fan nodded and said nothing more. Ning Fan had already seen everything inside the storage pouch. Just as he was about to retract his divine sense, his eyes suddenly shook and revealed a look of disbelief. This is... With a wave of his palm, Ning Fan took out a strange-looking clay doll from his storage pouch. The clay figurine was a woman who was half human and half snake. There was a mysterious power on the puppet. Ning Fan vaguely remembered that it was the power of Joss Flame. There were a lot of cracks on the surface of the clay doll. It seemed to be severely damaged. Even so, this clay doll was definitely not simple. It was because Ning Fan did not see this clay doll at all when he searched the storage pouch for the first time. It just stayed in the storage pouch without a trace of qi, causing Ning Fan to neglect it. Ning Fan had a hunch that this treasure was the most precious item in the storage pouch. As soon as he saw Ning Fan taking out the clay doll, Tai Wu's eyes burned with desire. He almost had the urge to snatch the clay doll back. However, when Ming Kei gave him a gentle stare, he immediately regained his senses and smiled awkwardly. May I ask Senior, what is this item? Ning Fan only knew that this item was extraordinary, but he could not see through its abilities. To be honest, this item is the reason why I had a dispute with Patriarch Dijiang. It's called the Joss Flame Demon Doll. It's a treasure crafted by a saintess of the demon race in ancient times. It can seize the power of Joss flames from others. Tai Wu sighed continuously. This item was extremely precious. If it wasn't because of Ming Kei's order, he would not be willing to hand it over. A saintess of the demon race. Seize the power of Joss flames from others. Ning Fan's eyes widened. Saintess was an honorific title for experts at the third step. No one knew if there were still saintesses in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds. Joss flame was one of the ways for second step immortals to increase their cultivation base. It could be used to increase their cultivation base, and it could also be used to refine treasures in battles. Joss flame was a kind of faith. It was the power produced by the worship of all living beings. Normally, no one would be able to seize the Joss flames that belonged to you. This Joss flame demon doll could actually seize the Joss flames of others. It was really shocking. If that was really the case, Ning Fan could just sneak into the temple of a powerful cultivator with this doll and steal all the Joss flames that the cultivator had painstakingly collected for countless years. If that was really the case, Ning Fan could just take this doll out and easily break the opponent's technique when they use the Joss flame technique. However, this treasure seemed to be severely damaged. I wonder how much power it has left. As if he could see through Ning Fan's thoughts, Tai Wu sighed regretfully. This Joss flame demon doll is severely damaged. At most, it can only seize the Joss flames of a true immortal at the true crossing realm. Unfortunately, the method to create and repair this treasure has long been lost. If this treasure can be repaired, it can even seize the Joss flames of an immortal emperor. Seizing the Joss flames of an immortal emperor meant that if an immortal emperor were to use the Joss flame great ability, this mud doll could easily break the opponent's ability. What a pity! This mud doll was too badly damaged. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was open-minded. It was already a great profit for him to get a treasure that could even seize the Joss flames of a true crossing realm true immortal. There was no need for him to sigh. He kept the pills, the Dao crystals, and the Joss flame clay doll. After thinking for a while, he passed all the spiritual herbs in his storage pouch to Ming Quebec. These are for you. Really? Give them all to me. The little girl's saliva instantly flowed out of her mouth. She smiled shyly and received the storage pouch. Of course, she would not be courteous to Ning Fan. Let's wait in the ancient heavenly court for now. After Brother Lu comes out, I will bid farewell to him and return to the rain world. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and summoned Si Wuxie, Mu Weiliang, and his servants from the Yuan Yao world. Tai Wu put on his cloak again and sealed his cultivation base. He stood respectfully behind Bright Sparrow. Ming Kei's little hands grabbed the spiritual herbs and munched on them. When Mu Weiliang saw how excited Ming Kei was, she also asked for a stalk of 100,000 years old spiritual herb and ate it raw. She was not afraid of the power of the elixir either. Ning Fan's eyes shrunk. Only now did he notice that Mu Weiliang's physical body was comparable to a 9th-level Nirvana realm expert even though she did not have any magic power. Although she was resurrected, she retained the strength of the corpse devil physique. After this resurrection, she had completed the 3rd transformation of the corpse devil, and her lifespan was limitless. It doesn't taste good? The 6-year-old Mu Weiliang pouted and returned the half-eaten spirit herb to Bright Sparrow. Does it taste good? Bright Sparrow took the spiritual herb and nibbled on it. She discovered that it was quite delicious. Lu Xiao and the others were shocked to see Mu Weiliang eat the 100,000-year-old elixir raw. The women around Master are all perverts. They're all so powerful. Ancient Zhang's corpse was given to Nieli to eat. With a wave of his hand, Ning Fan sent all the 8th and 9th revolution healing medicines he obtained from Tai Wu into the profound Yin world and passed them to Luo Yu. He believed that these pills were enough for her to recover her peak 9 revolution broken realm cultivation base. It was even possible for her to recover her life immortal realm cultivation base. The current Ning Fan had suppressed the devil sense in his heart. His 7 emotions had already been extinguished and his injuries were basically stabilized. However, it was difficult for ordinary people to notice any difference in him from his appearance. Si Wuxia looked at the innocent and innocent Mu Wailyang. The corners of her lips under the veil unknowingly curled into a faint smile. Thank you. My wish has been fulfilled. From now on, I am me and not her anymore. She looked at Ning Fan and smiled faintly. It was the first time she showed a sincere smile to Ning Fan with the identity of the Jade Lake's saintess. After Mu Wailyang's soul was reconstructed, she was no longer the seven spirits but herself. The past was over. She could finally let go of the knot in her heart and live calmly in this world. I saved her willingly. Why do you need to thank me? Ning Fan shook his head and smiled. Si Wuxia frowned slightly and let out a faint sigh. She could see that Ning Fan's heart was not smiling. It was desolation. He had lost his seven emotions. He just didn't want his beloved to worry about him. That was why he still forced a smile. The smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes or the bottom of his heart, but it might not be untrue. Your devil sense has been suppressed. Who is so powerful that they could even seal the devil sense? Is the life immortal realm cultivator who chased after you really dead? Who killed him? Si Wuxia looked at Ning Fan worriedly and then shifted her gaze to Tai Wu. Her intuition told her that this old man was not simple. Ning Fan only told her that he was out of danger but did not tell her the details. It was related to the identity of immemorial Dark Sparrow and Bright Sparrow. Don't worry about me. He's one of us. Everything is fine now. Everything is over. Ning Fan looked at Tai Wu and smiled. He did not explain how ancient Zong fell and how the devil sense was sealed. Si Wuxia could understand him without any explanation. I'm not worried about you. Forget it. It's meaningless to talk about this. Si Wuxia felt that her argument was a little weak. She was too lazy to defend herself. She was worried about him. All the grudges would eventually lead to a lake in her heart that could no longer calm down. I'm going back to the Jade Pool. Since your devil sense is fine for now, remember this. Don't come to the Western Heaven when your cultivation base is not strong enough. The Buddhist sect shows no mercy to the ancient devils. Si Wuxia reminded him again. Si, be careful. Ning Fan could see that Si Wuxia's clone was on the verge of collapse. Something big must have happened to the true body. Perhaps it would be beneficial for the true body if Si Wuxia withdrew her clone earlier. I know. You have to be careful too. If you really come to the four heavens one day and get attacked by the Buddhist sect, I will help you. Without saying anything more, Si Wuxia withdrew her clone, turned into specks of starlight, and vanished. In the Western Heaven, in the Kunlun Jade Pool, a white-robed lady was struggling to resist the great heavenly tribulation of the shedding void realm. The tribulation clouds roared. Her strength was exhausted and her body was covered with wounds. However, she still divided half of her magic power to maintain her clone in the lower world. All of a sudden, rays of starlight flew from the lower world and entered her body. Her bright eyes felt relaxed. After reading the memories of her clone, a faint smile hung on the corner of her lips. When she raised her head to look at the great heavenly tribulation again, there was no longer any fear on her face. He's really good. Amidst the rumbling sounds of the heavenly tribulation, the lady's voice was very soft. No one could hear it. After Si Wuxia left, Ning Fan was stunned for a while. Then he began to look at the other rewards he obtained from this trip. He killed his way up to the 33 heavens and turned into a blood devil to kill all the immortals. Even though he did not collect many storage pouches and Dao fruits, his harvest was definitely not small. There were 12 Void Fragmentation Realm Dao fruits, more than 200 Void Refinement Realm Dao fruits, countless 50,000 to 100,000 years old spiritual herbs, and many of them were above 100,000 years old. He obtained more than 10 million Dao crystals. In total, he now had a total of 70 million Dao crystals. Along the way, the corpse chi in his body had reached a bottleneck. He just needed an opportunity to complete the third corpse transformation and extend his lifespan. From the experts of the Immortal Burial Clan, Ning Fan obtained countless secret techniques of the Tao of Corpse, including many immortal techniques. He did not plan to cultivate these secret techniques of the Tao of Corpse for the time being. After completing the third corpse transformation, perhaps he could start cultivating them. Ning Fan had also obtained the method to set up the corpse unraveling grand formation. This formation had a very small chance of making a corpse cultivator achieve immortality. However, the chance was too small. Ning Fan had not decided to use this formation to achieve immortality yet. What Ning Fan was most concerned about was Chang Shan's storage pouch. Chang Shan was from the pill sect, and he was a 7th revolution pill refinement master. There were many pill recipes, spiritual herbs, and secret pills in his storage pouch. During his trip to the land of ghost rearing, he obtained 9 sense beads of life immortal ghosts. These 9 sense beads could greatly improve a cultivator's spirit sense. In Chang Shan's storage pouch, there were even specialized pills that could harmonize the power of the sense beads and absorb their spirit sense power. This is great. Ning Fan's eyes lit up. If he devours these 9 sense beads, his spirit sense would be greatly improved. While waiting for the ancient heavenly court to close, Ning Fan went into the profound Yin world and used Chang Shan's pills to harmonize one of the sense beads to refine them one by one. After refining the first sense bead, Ning Fan's spirit sense cultivation base reached the peak of the 7th fragmentation realm. After consuming the second sense bead, his spirit sense cultivation base naturally broke through to the 8th fragmentation realm. When he consumed the 7th sense bead, his spirit sense had already broken through to the 9th fragmentation realm. After consuming the last 2 sense beads, his spirit sense cultivation base stopped at the middle stage of the 9th fragmentation realm. Ning Fan spent a total of 3 months to completely refine the 9 sense beads of life immortal ghosts. After 3 months, Ning Fan returned to the outside of the heavenly court. His injuries had already been completely healed by the Black Star technique. Even though his cultivation base had improved, his combat power had also increased tremendously with the enhancement of his spirit sense. If he uses the incarnation technique and soul extraction technique now, his magic power would not be much weaker than a rogue immortal's. When Ning Fan returned to the outside world, Lu Xiu and the others felt that their master had undergone some changes. He seemed to have become stronger, but they had no idea about the details. Ming Ke and Mu Weiliang were chatting and laughing while gnawing on spiritual herbs. The two of them were enjoying themselves. When they saw Ning Fan coming out, they immediately went forward to greet him. Tai Wu gave Ning Fan a deep look. He could naturally see that Ning Fan's spirit sense had improved tremendously. While feeling amazed, he also secretly sent a telepathic message to Ning Fan to remind him. Young friend, although your divine will has improved, it is not solid. You need to stabilize it. Thank you for your reminder, senior. Ning Fan nodded his head in response. After another month or so, the Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the 9 worlds returned to the outside world one after another. Each of them had a lingering fear on their faces. When these people saw Ning Fan, all of them came to him and cupped their fists to thank him. Thank you, Rain Sovereign, for saving us. If it wasn't for you, we would have died in the hands of that life immortal. Words cannot express my gratitude for your great kindness. Those low-grade Void Fragmentation Realm experts cupped their fists to express their gratitude. Their eyes were filled with even more respect and fear when they looked at Ning Fan. No one asked the whereabouts of the white-haired life immortal. Since Ning Fan was still alive, the white-haired life immortal was most likely dead. They would rather not know how Ning Fan killed a life immortal realm expert. This trip really made us sigh. The 3 rogue devil old ancestors of the devil world sighed. There were originally 4 rogue devil old ancestors in the devil world. Today, one of them was eaten alive by the white-haired life immortal. Thinking about it now still made their hearts palpitate. After the 3 of them sighed, they cupped their fists at Ning Fan and said with a serious expression, "We will always remember fellow Taoist's kindness of saving our lives. As long as the 3 of us are still alive, the devil world will never offend the rain world. We will forever be allies of the rain world." The expressions of the other cultivators of the devil world changed after hearing the words of the 3 old ancestors. However, none of them dared to interrupt. The 3 old ancestors were going to form an alliance with the rain world. How many years had it been since the devil world, which was one of the 3 upper realms, formed an alliance with the rain world of the three lower realms. However, everyone also understood that the three old ancestors wanted to form an alliance with the rain world. Firstly, it was to repay Ningfan for saving their lives. Secondly, it was because they were afraid of Ningfan's strength. That day, Ningfan transformed into a blood devil and swept across the vast sky to fight against the white-haired life immortal. No one would dare to forget that scene. No one could. If Ningfan wants to, he could easily kill rogue immortal experts. With him around, who would dare to provoke the rain world? Our demon world is also willing to become allies with the rain world. The old Crimson Emperor and the old Fox Emperor chuckled. Our heaven immortal world is also willing to be on good terms with the rain world. The old ancestor of the heaven immortal world cupped his fists at Ningfan and said, "The cultivators of the other worlds were not strong enough to represent their own worlds, so they naturally did not dare to speak carelessly. However, these people were well aware that the current rain world was not an existence that they could afford to offend. Some of them saw Lu Xiu and the rest of the 17 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters and a gigantic toad beside Ningfan. Among the 17 Void Fragmentation Realm experts, 2 of them were at the 8th Fragmentation Realm while 5 of them were at the 7th Fragmentation Realm. The toad was at the peak of the 8th Demolisher level. The way these experts looked at Ningfan was clearly the way they looked at their master. The auras of these people were clearly the auras of experts from the Immortal Burial Tribe. Needless to say, these people were the slaves that Ningfan subdued from the Heaven Court. With such a large number of experts, they could easily sweep through the lower and middle realms. Moreover, Ningfan's strength alone seemed to be enough to dominate the upper 3 realms. Currently, the Rain World was known as the weakest in the 9 worlds. However, those with discerning eyes knew that it was not an exaggeration to call it the strongest in the 9 worlds. "Brother Ning, you are indeed fine. I knew that you would be fine." Lu Haoyue laughed heartily and walked out of the crowd. The worry in his eyes slowly faded away. "Brother Lu." Ningfan nodded at Lu Haoyue. He naturally knew that Lu Haoyue was worried about him. He did not say much and did not mention the matter of risking his life to save him. Some words did not need to be mentioned. It was fine to just bury them in one's heart. Lu Haoyue also did not say much. He took out 2 jars of spiritual wine and tossed one to Ningfan. Without saying anything else, he lifted the wine jar and drank it in one gulp. Ningfan also did not say much. He raised his head and drank the entire jar of wine until there was not a single drop left. Drinking with him meant that he had acknowledged him as a friend. "Brother Ning, are you going back to the Rain World now?" Lu Haoyue asked with a smile. "Yes. I won't send you off. Please wait." Ningfan cupped his fists at Lu Haoyue and took out his ancient golden sword. Then, he brought everyone and flew towards the heavenly gate of the Rain World in the lower level of the broken domain. The gates of the ancient heavenly court were slowly closing. The other old monsters no longer had the mood to stay. After resting for a while, they returned to their respective worlds. The trip to the ancient heavenly court this time was not long, but too many major events had happened. Shocking news spread throughout the 9 realms. Moksha Sovereign, Snake Sovereign and Ape Sovereign had fallen. Even the rogue devils of the Devil World had fallen. If it wasn't for Ningfan, the Rain Sovereign, all the cultivators of the 9 worlds who entered the ancient heavenly court would have died. Ningfan brought back 17 Void Fragmentation Realm experts and a Peak 8 Fragmentation Realm demon beast from the ancient heavenly court. If Ningfan goes all out, he could even kill a rogue immortal. The 3 upper worlds announced their alliance with the Rain World. The 3 middle worlds and the 3 lower worlds announced their friendship with the Rain World. No one dared to offend the Rain World. In the Rain World, Li Tsungtian looked at the information in his hands in disbelief. He then looked at the experts behind Ningfan. After returning to their worlds safely, over 100 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters sent people to the Rain World to send gifts to Ningfan to thank him for saving their lives. Each of the experts that Ningfan brought back was powerful enough to wipe out the entire Rain World that was ruled by Yun Zhongshuan, Little Ning, can you tell me what exactly happened in the ancient heavenly court? Li Tsongtian smiled bitterly. He had always known that Ning Fan was capable of stirring up trouble. However, he did not know that Ning Fan could dominate the 9 worlds with his own strength. Even the 3 upper worlds had to take the initiative to form an alliance with the Rain world. Since Senior Li has asked, I will naturally tell you everything I know. However, before that, I have something to discuss with Senior. What is it? I'm going to the Sword World. What? You've just returned from the ancient heavenly court and you're already going to the Sword World? Chapter 685. Luo Yu once again entered seclusion to repair her primordial spirit, while Nieli once again formed a demon cocoon and broke through to the next realm. Mu Weiliang was temporarily handed over to Sister Ji, while Ming Ke was busy commanding Tai Wu to save Mu Luo and Yu Huang. With so many experts and Tai Wu, the Rain Immortal world was very safe, very safe. After returning to the Rain world for just 1 month, Ning Fan immediately set off for the Sword World. He was going to fulfill his promise to the old devil. He knew that the old devil had been waiting for him for a long time. Perhaps little Dugu was also waiting for him. Master, on a barren mountain in the Sword World, a realm gate opened and Ning Fan appeared. He had killed countless people and had countless realm gate jade slips in his hands. Opening a realm gate to travel through the 9 realms was a piece of cake for him. His face was cold and emotionless as he walked among the mountains and rivers. After all, he had lost his 7 emotions. When there was no one around or in front of outsiders, there was no need for him to force a smile. He didn't stay in Yu country for long. Perhaps he was afraid that Su Qiuling and the other women with a clear mind would see through him and worry about him. The Sword World was much bigger than the Rain World. The landscape was dominated by mountains and there were very few rivers. There was a boundless mountain range in front of them, and many villages and cities were built along the mountains. From time to time, sword lights would fly across the sky. There were many sword cultivators in the Sword World. Wherever one went, one could see cultivators riding on their swords. The Sword Realm had 3 great territories, which were Heaven Border, Profound Border, and Snow Border. There were many bandits in the Heaven Border, many demons in the Shen Border, and many sects in the Snow Border. There was a sword hall in each of the 3 territories. The Sky Border Heavenly Sovereign's grandson was once engaged to Dugu. However, due to Ning Fan's sudden appearance and taking away 3 traces of Dugu's sword chi, the agreement between Dugu and the Heavenly Sovereign was broken. Thus, the engagement was cancelled. Tianjiang sword cultivators specialized in using a special flying sword that was similar to the Mo knife. Xianjiang's Miao Huang was a female sword emperor. It was said that Xianjiang and Shuejiang were not on good terms and had always been at war. But for some reason, in recent decades, Xianjiang and Shuejiang suddenly stopped fighting and made peace. Moreover, this Miao Huang seemed to be running to the Snow Border very frequently. The Xianjiang sword cultivators were adept at using a strange flying sword similar to the Miaodao. Emperor Ling of the Snow Border was the father of little Dugu. Now, the old devil was living in the Snow Border. The Snow Border was the orthodox sword cultivator of the Sword World. It was said that in the Snow Border, there were still the remains of the Sword Ancestors' secluded cultivation. They often held the Sword Ancestors' trial, allowing the young generation to seek opportunities. In the past, little Dugu had obtained the sword finger technique by chance during the trial of the Sword Ancestor and gave it to Ning Fan. If I don't die after 100 years, I will definitely go to the Sword World. That was the promise he made when he was young. Ning Fan's desolate heart suddenly felt warm. He looked at the one heart sword imprint on the back of his hand and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. His smile was unnatural and forced, but it came from the bottom of his heart. Little girl, I'm here for you. How are you? The way he looked at little Dugu now was just like how he looked at a little girl. All the information was gathered by Ning Fan along the way. It wasn't accurate to call it a question. When Ning Fan was drinking in a village at the foot of a mountain, he encountered a group of bandits and obtained all the information he needed. Killing, soul searching, he had never been a good person. At most, he would not offend others if they did not offend him. Perhaps little Dugu would be disappointed in this aspect. She so hoped that he would be a good person. Standing on the peak of a certain mountain, Ning Fan changed his hand seal and displayed the heaven-peering rain technique. In an instant, the entire sword world was covered in a dense drizzle that moistened everything silently. Ning Fan closed his eyes. Every blade of grass and every tree in the 3 great territories of the sword world was reflected in his mind. When he opened his eyes, the drizzling rain that filled the sky had dispersed. After confirming the direction of the snow border, Ning Fan slowly walked towards it. His pace didn't seem fast, but every step he took was accompanied by the Tao of life and death, and every step he took allowed him to cross a distance of 3 million miles. It wouldn't take long to get to the snow border. In the snow border, it was the opening day of the secret place of the Sword Ancestor, which was held once in 100 years. This was the Sword Ancestor's trial. In the 3 territories, all young cultivators above the nascent soul stage could participate in the Sword Ancestor's trial. Of course, old monsters could also enter it to cultivate, but the benefits would be minimal. For nascent soul cultivators, the Sword Ancestor trial was very dangerous. It is said that there are many sword beasts comparable to nascent soul cultivators in the secret plane, which are quite powerful. In previous trials, many people have died in the trial. Those who died were all people with low cultivation, so they couldn't blame anyone else. The path of cultivation had always been about survival of the fittest. The Sword Ancestor's secret plane was located in the Ling Huang Great Swamp of the snow border. At this moment, the land of the Ling Huang Great Swamp was filled with young cultivators from the entire sword world. Of course, there were also countless old monsters following them. They were the seniors of those young cultivators. Ling Palace was the main host of the Sword Ancestor's trial. The Heaven Palace and the Miao Palace would also be in charge of this trial. After all, even though the Sword Ancestor's secret plane was located in the snow border, it was the common property of all the cultivators in the sword world. It was impossible for Ling Palace to manage it alone. The sky above the snow border was filled with snowflakes. All of a sudden, the snowflakes disappeared and were replaced by rain. After a while, the rain stopped and the snow fell again. Oh, I didn't expect it to rain in the snow border. It's really a rare sight. However, if something is out of the ordinary, it could also be a bad omen. There were 3 sovereigns of the sword world sitting on a high platform. One of them, an old-fashioned old man, said with a cold smile, "The heavenly sovereign is worrying too much. It's just that the snow has turned into rain. Perhaps some cultivator above the spirit-severing realm has cultivated the rain intent and changed the weather." Ling Huang squinted his eyes and looked at the heavenly sovereign thoughtfully. Ever since the engagement between Dugu and the grandson of the heavenly sovereign was cancelled, the Ling Palace and the Heaven Palace had been on bad terms. 10 years ago, the heavenly sovereign broke through to the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. His cultivation base was much stronger than Ling Huang and Miao Huang. He even sent bandits of the heaven border to rob the small sects in the snow border occasionally. Ling Huang pondered for a while. He wondered if there was a deeper meaning behind the heavenly sovereign's words. Could it be that the heavenly sovereign wants to attack the Ling Palace? No, it's impossible. Although Ling Huang had yet to break through to the 6th heavenly layer, he wouldn't be much weaker than the heavenly sovereign. He didn't think that the heavenly sovereign would have the guts to attack the Ling Palace. Why don't I see Han Yuanji? Ling Jiuyo, did you hide Han Yuanji somewhere? Do you know that I came all the way to the snowy region to endure the cold just to see him? Miao Huang's beautiful brows knit together as she looked around the crowd. She was slightly unhappy. She seemed to be interested in the old monster. Humph! Don't mention that person to me. Ling Huang's face darkened instantly. He didn't like Han Yuanji and his disciple even more. Han Yuanji had hooked up with his eldest daughter, causing her to be in a half-dead state. One of Han Yuanji's disciples had hooked up with his youngest daughter, causing her to be distracted every day. As a father, he despised Han Yuanji's shameless behavior very much. However, seeing that Han Yuanji was wholeheartedly trying to save his eldest daughter, He didn't fall out with Han Yuanji for the time being. As for Han Yuanji's disciple, he heard that he was just a nascent Soul Realm junior a few decades ago. He didn't know if he had broken through to the mid-nascent Soul Realm. Such a person wanted to marry his youngest daughter after cheating her of her sword chi. Really? Ling Huang only knew that there was a young man who took little Dugu's sword chi and planted the one heart sword seal with her. He only knew that the young man was the old monster's disciple, but he didn't know that he was the evil Cloud Rain sovereign who had shaken the 9 worlds. Even if he knew, he would probably be prejudiced against Ning Fan. He didn't even show respect to the old monster who was a deacon of the 4 heavens. He had a stubborn temper and a one-track mind. You think I won't talk about him just because you said so? I still want to talk about him. I like him. Miao Huang's face didn't even blush or gasp for breath when he said this. She was a Miao woman. She always had the guts to love and hate. Millions of li away, in an ice city, the old monster raised his head and looked at the sky. When he saw the falling snow turning into a drizzle, his old face immediately smiled like a chrysanthemum flower. Smelly brat, you finally came. That disciple of yours is quite capable. Now, his name has spread across the 9 worlds. There is no one who isn't afraid of him. Emperor Xia said indifferently, but his eyes were full of praise. Nonsense. Of course he's capable. He was taught by me. The old monster said proudly. As far as this old man knows, among his many divine abilities, none of them belong to your Black Devil sect. You didn't seem to call him anything. Emperor Xia's tone was cold and indifferent, but he didn't hesitate to expose the old devil's secret. I taught him how to snatch things. Have you heard of this saying? It's better to teach a man to fish than to teach him to fish. It's better to snatch 100 treasures from a man than to obtain a master's treasure. The old monster quibbled with a straight face. The thickness of his skin made Emperor Xia speechless. A ripple suddenly appeared in little Dugu's eyes, which were as calm as water. She automatically ignored the old monster's various boasting and only heard the sentence that the old monster said. He's here. She didn't say much and flew towards the Ling Huang Great Swamp with a rainbow. Smelly girl, where are you going? Aren't you going to wait for Ning Brat here? There are still 10 days left until the Sword Ancestor's trial. I'm going there to wait for him. He will come to find me. I'm sure. Dugu smiled faintly. Her smile was enough to topple a city. Then she disappeared in a flash. 3 days later, Dugu, who was at the half-step void refinement realm, arrived at the venue outside the Sword Ancestor's secret place. At the center of the venue, nearly 3,000 youths above the nascent soul realm had gathered. There were more than 60 people above the spirit-severing realm and only 1 person above the void refinement realm. That person was the grandson of the heavenly sovereign, known as the #1 youth of the sword world, Tian Yunshui. The heavenly sovereign's name was Tian Xiong. The surname of the heavenly palace had always been a compound surname. Theoretically, all the youths above the nascent soul realm were qualified to enter the secret place. Therefore, before the secret place was opened, there had never been a competition to screen out the number of participants. However, countless arenas were built outside the secret place for the youths to spar with each other freely. Dugagu, you're still so beautiful after so many years. I'm really moved. Tian Yunshui squeezed through the crowd and approached Dugu with a gentle smile. His appearance was extremely handsome and his temperament was as gentle as jade. His smile immediately attracted the hearts of a few beautiful female cultivators. When Dugu saw Tian Yunshui, her eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of disgust. Dugugu? What a disgusting title. What right does he have to call me that? Little Demon Ning should be the one to call me that. Dugu and fellow Taoist aren't familiar with each other. Please behave yourself. Fellow Taoist. The unfamiliar title was enough to show that Tian Yunshui had no weight in Dugu's heart. Tian Yunshui's eyes darkened and said coldly, "Don't forget that you used to be my fiancé." Dugu didn't remember such a thing. The so-called engagement was just a bet between the Heavenly Emperor and me. I won the bet, so naturally the engagement never existed. Dugu couldn't be bothered to talk to Tian Yunshui anymore. She turned and walked in another direction. Tian Yunshui flashed and stood in front of Dugu again. He sneered, "Nothing that I fancy can escape from my control." What he fancied was not only Dugu's person, but also the finger sword technique that Dugu obtained from the Sword Ancestors trial. "Tian Yunshui, if you continue to pester me, don't blame me for being merciless." "Merciless? You're the #1 female in the sword world, but you're no match for me. If you don't believe me, you can fight me in the arena." Tian Yunshui leaped and landed on one of the arenas. On that arena, there were 2 nascent soul cultivators engaged in a fierce battle. Tian Yunshui didn't want to waste his breath. With a flash of his sleeve, countless rays of sword light slashed towards the 2 of them, knocking them off the arena. They were already coughing out blood and were severely injured. "Tian Yunshui, why you actually attacked us for no reason?" the 2 injured nascent soul cultivators said indignantly. "Are you not convinced?" Tian Yunshui swept a glance at them. Their expressions immediately changed drastically and they coughed out blood again. Under fear, how would they dare to say anything else? The elders of these 2 people were divine transformation realm cultivators. Even though they were indignant that Tian Yunshui attacked them, they did not dare to stand up for their juniors. Tian Yunshui alone was a void glimpse stage cultivator. He wasn't someone they could offend. Moreover, Tian Yunshui still had the Heaven Palace behind him. When the young handsome men on the scene saw Tian Yunshui attacking their opponents, some were fearful while some were indignant. However, none of them dared to say anything. Sovereign Ling frowned. Sovereign Miao also let out a disdainful snort. As for the Heavenly Emperor, he laughed loudly. "As expected of my grandson. You should be so domineering." "Salisky's Dugu, come up and fight your husband." Salisky's Cloudwater looked provocatively at Dugu, who was standing below the stage. The crowd immediately went into an uproar, because Tian Yi and Yunshui had added her husband's surname in front of Dugu's name. The customs of the sword realm were special. Unmarried women did not have surnames. Father Dugu's surname was Ling, but his surname could not be Ling White Bones like a mountain, forgetting the surname. Dugu's surname must follow her husband's. Dugu's beautiful eyes were cold. She did not like to be entangled with Tian Yunshui, but Tian Yunshui had really gone too far. "My name is not Tian Yi Dugu. My name is Ning Dugu. My husband is most likely surnamed Ning." Dugu took a step forward and turned into a streak of sword light, instantly landing on the arena. Facing Tian Yunshui, who was a realm higher than her, she showed no fear. "Heavenly Sovereign, what is the meaning of this?" Emperor Ling's eyes darkened. Although he didn't like Dugu boasting that his surname was Ning, he didn't like the Heavenly Palace's incessant pestering. How could he allow outsiders to bully his daughter? How could Tian Yunshui bully a divine transformation realm girl with his void refinement realm cultivation base? "Hee, it's just a child throwing a tantrum. We elders can just watch quietly from the side." The Heavenly Sovereign burst into laughter. He did not feel that his grandson was acting arrogantly at all. Instead, a hint of expectation rose in his eyes. If his grandson could really capture Dugu's heart, his original plan to eliminate Ling clan could be postponed. It would be safer to let his grandson marry into Ling clan and take over Ling clan step by step. If that little girl Dugu doesn't know how to appreciate his kindness, a hint of darkness flashed across the Heavenly Sovereign's eyes. He had already invited a few strong reinforcements from the 3 middle realms and even 7 sway from the 3 upper realms. If he couldn't take over Ling clan through words, then he would take it by force. Tian Yunshui sneered at Dugu. He raised his hand and a strange flying sword that looked like a long knife appeared in his hand. "Seeing that your cultivation base is still low, your husband will give you a handicap of 3 strikes. No need. I'll make you speechless right away." Turning sword into fire. Dugu's first strike was turning sword into fire. This sword was originally a spirit realm sword technique. However, Dugu had already modified it into a mortal void realm sword technique. As soon as this sword was unleashed, a raging wave of flaming sword light slashed towards Tian Yunshui. Tian Yunshui was greatly shocked. He hurriedly took 3 steps back and held the flying sword with both of his hands. In an instant, a black moon sword light immediately slashed the flaming sword light into 2. This was one of the mortal void realm sword techniques of the heavenly palace, crescent moon slash. White bones like a mountain. Dugu was not afraid of the power of the crescent moon slash at all. A sword cultivator must have a strong heart of the sword that would not flinch even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. A white bone sword light was unleashed and it actually managed to resist the power of the crescent moon slash. Tian Yunshui's expression immediately turned gloomy. Boos could be heard from all directions. Tian Yunshui, who was at the Void Glimpse stage and claimed to be the #1 young man in the sword world, had his sword light blocked by a half-step Void Refinement Realm woman. This matter naturally made him a laughing stock. Purple moon slash. Tian Yunshui held the sword with both of his hands and slashed again. A purple sword light slashed towards Dugu. Without saying a word, Dugu used white bones like a mountain to break this sword. Before the tip of his foot touched the ground, he had already executed the 3rd move. Heart drawing. The moment this sword was drawn, Tian Yunshui felt an intense pain in his heart, as if his heart was about to be sliced into pieces. He was already showing signs of defeat. The Heavenly Emperor's expression changed. He never would have thought that Tian Yunshui would lose. The Heavenly Palace's first elder immediately made a move to save Dugu. The first elder's figure flashed, and he appeared on the dueling ring. With a single finger, he broke Drawing Heart's sword. Then, with a flip of his hand, he pointed at Dugu. Ling Huang was enraged, but before he could do anything to help, a cold voice suddenly rang out. Scram. With just that one word, an unimaginable destructive force immediately spread out from the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace. In the blink of an eye, the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace was heavily injured, coughing up blood and flying out of the arena. As for Tian Yunshui, he was held high in midair by a white-clothed young man by the neck. "For you." The Heavenly Emperor was furious. Chapter 686. Scram. It was only a single word, but it was incomparably cold, yet it caused the world to tremble. The mountains were afraid, the clouds were afraid, the wind and snow were as silent as cicadas in winter. The voice carried an unimaginable destructive force. With just a single blow, it had severely injured the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace who had just attacked. The Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace coughed up blood and flew off the stage. He fell to the ground and was unable to get up for a long time. He stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. His eyes were filled with deep fear. He had once entered the Heaven Court and was even saved by Ning Fan. That was how he managed to avoid dying in the hands of the white-haired life immortal. He knew how terrifying Ning Fan was. He recognized Ning Fan's appearance. On the arena, the white-robed young man who protected Dugu behind him, the one who severely injured him with a single word and held Tian Yunshui like a dog, was none other than the evil Cloud Rain sovereign, Ning Fan. He recognized Ning Fan, but most of the old monsters in the sword world did not recognize his appearance. When the heavenly sovereign saw his grandson being strangled by Ning Fan, he was extremely furious. The Great Elder of the Heaven Palace had a cultivation base at the 3rd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm, but he was severely injured by Ning Fan with just a single word. Even though he did not know who Ning Fan was, he knew that Ning Fan's cultivation base was at least at the 5th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. Who are you? How dare you injure the Great Elder of the Heavenly Palace? How dare you? Let go of my grandson. The Heavenly Sovereign abruptly rose to his feet. His eyes flashed with blood-red light. A wave of aura force at the 6th break realm pressed down on Ning Fan from afar, trying to intimidate him. Ning Fan did not even bother to look at the oppressive aura force that was pressing down on him. He stared at the heavenly water of cloud in his hand. His eyes remained cold and his killing intent had already been triggered. "Don't kill him. I don't want to see you kill anyone," little Dugu suddenly said from behind. She did not like to see Ning Fan's killing people. She would rather Ning Fan's be a vain opening youth who had just entered 7 Apricot City forever, and his hands would never be stained with blood. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat. He looked back at Dugu Mingjing's eyes and sighed. He casually tossed Tian Yunshui out of the arena, no longer bothering with this void glimpse stage junior. He just stood there, and the pressure of the heavenly sovereign couldn't descend at all. He turned around, looked at Dugu and smiled. I'm here. Little demon Ning, at least you know what's good for you. If you break your promise, I will never forgive you. Dugu snorted softly, but a smile appeared on her tranquil face. When the heavenly sovereign saw that Ning Fan did not kill Tian Yunshui, he felt slightly relieved. When he saw that his aura force could not do anything to Ning Fan at all, he thought to himself, could it be that Ning Fan is just a cultivator at the broken sixth realm who is not afraid of his aura force? With a leap, he descended from the high platform and shielded the great elder, Tian Yi and Yun Shui who had fallen to the ground behind him. Then he stared at Ning Fan coldly. So what if you have 6 shatters? He had to give him an explanation for hurting the people of his sky palace. Who are you? You must give me an explanation for injuring the people of my sky palace, or else. The Mikado's eyes were filled with threatening intent. The surrounding cultivators were also guessing Ning Fan's identity. Miao Huang remained silent. He always felt that Ning Fan's temperament was somewhat similar to that unromantic old man Han. Ling Huang's gaze relaxed slightly, and he had a good impression of this white-clothed young man that he'd never met before. If the white-robed young man had not saved him, Dugu would most likely have been taught a lesson by the great elder of the Sky Palace. However, Dugu actually addressed this young man as Little Devil Ning just now. Could this young man be Old Man Han's disciple, the person that little Dugu could never forget? As soon as he thought of this, the good impression that Ling Huang had for Ning Fan vanished into thin air. His eyes were filled with hostility. When he thought about it again, he was shocked. In the past, when Ning Fan and little Dugu planted the Dugu sword seal, it was said that he only had the strength of a nascent soul realm cultivator. Moreover, he was not a true nascent soul realm cultivator. Now, his cultivation base has already reached the void fragmentation realm. How many years has it been? His cultivation base actually improved so quickly. Moreover, his void fragmentation realm cultivation base was at least at the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Even though Ling Huang could not see through Ning Fan's cultivation base, he could vaguely feel that his cultivation base was lower than Ning Fan's. On second thought, Little Devil Ning came from the Rain World. His surname was Ning and his cultivation base was at least at the broken 6th realm. All of a sudden, Ling Huang seemed to have guessed Ning Fan's identity. His eyes were filled with astonishment, but he did not say anything. Facing the Mikado's question, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold and he took a step towards him. With just a single step, 2,720 traces of black and white qi coiled around his body. With just a single step, the aura force of the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm swept across the place, forming a silent storm. This step was on the line between life and death. It was indescribably mysterious. None of the people present had even reached the 7th fragmentation realm. Naturally, none of them could see through the mysteriousness of this step. The Mikado could only vaguely see that Ning Fan's step was extremely extraordinary. At the next moment, an overwhelming pressure directly hit his chest, causing his qi to become chaotic. He hurriedly took a few steps back before he could stabilize his body. His forehead was already drenched in cold sweat. 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. How could the Mikado not see that Ning Fan was just a cultivator at the 6th fragmentation realm? Moreover, Ning Fan's strength was far above his. I am Ning Fan. I was the one who injured him. How do you want me to explain this to you? This was Ning Fan's answer. His voice was not loud, but it spread across the entire Ling desolate swamp. All the cultivators in the room instantly fell into dead silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with deep respect and disbelief when they looked at Ning Fan. Tian Yun Shui's face was filled with astonishment. He claimed to be the #1 young man in the sword world. Even though he dared to be domineering in the sword world, he also knew who he could offend and who he could not. The Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, was now the person who could not be offended in the 9 worlds. The Mikado's hands that were hidden in his sleeves were already soaked with cold sweat. When he looked at Ning Fan, the arrogance in his eyes was gone. Explanation. How would he dare to ask Ning Fan to give him an explanation? He was the Mikado and he had the ambition to unify the sword world. However, that ambition was only limited to the sword world. He dared to attack the Ling Palace, but he would not dare to offend the Rain world no matter what, let alone the Rain sovereign, Ning Fan. Ning Fan was a person whom the old ancestors of the upper three worlds tried their best to befriend. Rumor has it that Ning Fan himself had the strength to kill a rogue immortal. Such a person alone was enough to flatten the Heaven Palace. How would the Mikado dare to offend him? You must be joking, Rain Sovereign. How would I dare to ask you to give me an explanation? The Mikado forced a smile on his stiff face, but he was met with Ning Fan's cold eyes as usual. Didn't you want an explanation? Sure. I have always been a reasonable person. I will give you an explanation. I will tell you why I injured her. She's mine. I'll kill anyone who dares to harm her. Are you satisfied with this explanation? Ning Fan's eyes narrowed and pointed at Dugu, who was beside him. A feeling of extreme danger immediately rose in the Mikado's heart. The Mikado's expression changed. He did not expect Dugu to be Ning Fan's woman. He did not expect the Ling Palace to have such a powerful backer. At the same time, Tian Yunshui was also drenched in cold sweat. He never knew that the person who planted the one-heart sword seal with Dugu was the dignified Rain sovereign, Ning Fan. If he knew about it, how would he dare to snatch the Rain sovereign's woman? Dugu was speechless. She did not remember agreeing to be Ning Fan's woman. She also could not remember when Ning Fan was reasonable. The great elder of the Heaven Palace let out a long sigh. He struggled to stand up and looked at Ning Fan with shame. In the ancient heavenly court, Ning Fan saved his life. Today, however, he bullied the weak and attacked Dugu. Dugu was Ning Fan's woman. If I didn't remember wrongly, I saved your life in the ancient heavenly court, didn't I? Are you repaying my kindness with enmity today? Ning Fan's cold eyes swept across the great elder of the Heaven Palace. The shame on the great elder's face deepened. Without saying anything, he raised his hand and slammed it on the top of his head. As soon as the palm landed, his injuries immediately worsened and he coughed out blood. His cultivation base fell from the third heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm to the second heavenly layer. It is this old man who has let down the Rain Sovereign. There is nothing more to say. If the Rain Sovereign feels that the punishment is not severe enough, you can take this old man's life, and this old man will definitely not object. This person's words were firm. Although his actions were a bit despicable, he was still a person who dared to take responsibility for his actions. The Heavenly Emperor's eyes were filled with pain. The great elder was his right-hand man. Now that his cultivation level had fallen, the Heavenly Palace's strength would undoubtedly be greatly affected. Which hand hurt her? Ning Fan looked at the great elder of the Heavenly Palace and asked coldly. The great elder of the Heavenly Palace did not say anything. He gritted his teeth and raised his right arm. A sword beam formed from the energies of life and death slashed out, and the great elder's right arm was instantly cut off. If a cultivator's arm was severed by the life and death chi, unless they were also proficient in the life and death chi, they would not be able to recover their arm. The great elder of the Sky Palace let out a muffled groan. His face became even paler, but there was a hint of relief in his eyes. He understood that when Ning Fan severed his arm, it meant that Ning Fan would not kill him. The surrounding cultivators were terrified and kept quiet out of fear. Rumor had it that the Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, was a ruthless person. Now that they had witnessed it, they knew that the rumor was true. So ruthless. The Heavenly Emperor clenched his fists tightly but did not dare to say anything. Ling Huang, on the other hand, could not bear to watch anymore. He stood up and stared at Ning Fan with a dark expression. You are the divine sovereign of the Rain world. Why did you come to my sword world and behave atrociously? Aren't you looking down on us, the three sovereigns of the sword world? Ling Huang was the only one present who was not afraid of Ning Fan. Nonsense. He was not even afraid of the old devil. Why would he be afraid of Ning Fan? Not only was he not afraid of Ning Fan, but he was also very displeased with Ning Fan's despicable act of abducting little Dugu. His master was like that and so was his disciple. How hateful! Ning Fan. He is my father. Little Dugu suddenly grabbed Ning Fan's sleeves nervously, afraid that Ning Fan would offend her father. Ning Fan smiled and shook his head. Was he such an ungrateful person? Why would he use violence against his father-in-law? Ning Fan did not face the coldness of the cultivators of the heavenly palace. He put on a smile and cupped his fists at Ling Huang. Junior Ning Fan greets Ling Huang. Ling Huang was startled. His cold face relaxed a little. He had never thought that the arrogant and overbearing Ning Fan would have such a polite side to him. Ning Fan was so polite to him and even addressed himself as a junior. Compared to the shameless and wretched old devil, this young man was much more pleasing to the eye. Moreover, he always protected little Dugu, unlike the old devil who harmed little Mei. The cultivators in the surroundings were also stunned. No one would have thought that the great devil Ning would have such a polite side. Cough cough. Fellow Taoist Ning is the divine sovereign of the rain world. I am very grateful to you for saving my daughter. However, I should be the one to punish the great elder of the heavenly palace. I don't think fellow Taoist Ning needs to overstep your authority. Also, what you said just now, although my daughter has planted the one-heart sword seal with you, we are not married yet, right? Don't say such things in front of outsiders. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He could see that Ling Huang's attitude towards him had changed. That was good. Ling Huang was little Dugu's father. Ning Fan did not want to become enemies with Ling Huang and put little Dugu in a difficult position. Besides, the meaning behind Ling Huang's words seemed to have acquiesced to the relationship between him and little Dugu. Ning Fan could hear it and the others could also hear it. Little Dugu could also hear it. Her pretty face blushed, but she did not say anything. She just looked at Ning Fan with gratitude. She was grateful that Ning Fan did not fall out with her father. Senior is right. I don't have the qualifications to interfere in the matters of the sword world. However, today's matter seems a little special. If I don't do anything, the snowboarder will face a great calamity. Ning Fan's tone was extremely indifferent. As soon as his voice fell, Ling Huang's expression changed. Great calamity? What great calamity? Little friend, what do you mean? Senior, you shouldn't be asking me. You should be asking the heavenly sovereign. Show yourself. Ning Fan's spirit sense spread out crazily. It carried a monstrous baleful qi and dyed the entire sky above the Ling Huang Great Swamp blood red. His spirit sense shook violently. Immediately, thousands of experts who were hiding in the sky revealed themselves. Most of them were experts of the heavenly palace. A few of them were helpers invited by the heavenly sovereign from the outside world. 3 of them were at the 5th break realm, 2 were at the 6th break realm, and 1 was at the 7th break realm. These people were hiding in this place without being noticed by everyone. Naturally, they were up to no good. The expressions of all the cultivators in the surroundings changed. What is the heavenly sovereign trying to do by hiding so many experts? Ling Huang's eyes were filled with anger. The worry that he had in his heart just now had finally been confirmed. Tianyi Xiong, are you trying to destroy my Ling Palace by bringing so many experts with you? The heavenly sovereign was so anxious that his forehead was full of sweat. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's intervention, he would really dare to destroy the Ling Palace. However, Ning Fan was here today. Moreover, he had a close relationship with the Ling Palace. Even if he had 10 guts, he would not dare to destroy the Ling Palace. He wanted to deny it. However, the truth was obvious. How could he deny it? Among the thousands of experts who were hiding, other than the few old monsters who were at the 5th break realm and above, the rest were all members of the heavenly palace. Any explanation would be futile. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the heavenly palace had ulterior motives towards the Ling Palace. It was just that they were unlucky. Everything was going according to the plan flawlessly. However, Ning Fan had appeared. In front of an expert like Ning Fan, any conspiracy would be useless. Fellow Taoist Ning, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Ling Huang gritted his teeth. Previously, he had protected the heavenly palace because they were both sword sovereigns. Now that he thought about it, he realized that he was really stupid. The others were ready to eliminate him, but he was still helping them earn money. How stupid! How stupid! Dugu's delicate body trembled in anger. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's appearance, the heavenly palace would have already destroyed the Ling Palace. Why? Why do the forces of the sword sovereigns have to kill each other? It's just that people are not satisfied. Don't be afraid. I'm here. As if he had seen through Dugu's thoughts, Ning Fan stretched out his hand and stroked her hair, telling her not to worry. Such an intimate action immediately made Dugu feel embarrassed and annoyed. However, she did not push his hand away. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the 3/5 Break Realm experts, 2 6th Break Realm experts and 1 7th Break Realm expert in the sky. His eyes turned cold. What a coincidence! These people were the people he had saved in the ancient heavenly court. We didn't know about the relationship between the Rain Sovereign and the Ling Palace. If we knew, we definitely wouldn't dare to agree to the Heavenly Sovereign's request and attack the Ling Palace. Please punish us. The 6 old monsters gritted their teeth and looked at Ning Fan with shame. Then, they glared at the Heavenly Sovereign with hatred. Ning Fan had saved their lives, but they actually wanted to kill his father-in-law. This is really, originally, they would not dare to offend Ning Fan even if they had to die. However, they had offended Ning Fan in such a way. It was all the Heavenly Sovereign's fault. Tianxiong, if I don't die, I will certainly tear you into a million pieces. The 7th Break Realm expert glared at the Heavenly Sovereign with hatred, causing the latter to feel a chill down his spine. Cripple 1 level of your own cultivation base and leave an arm behind. Ning Fan's tone was indifferent, but it carried an irresistible might. He did not kill anyone just because Dugu did not like it. She did not like it. Thus, he did not want to show his bloodthirsty and merciless side in front of her. The 6 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters revealed a look of relief. They had been to the ancient heavenly court before and they knew how ruthless Ning Fan was. He had massacred the entire Immortal Burial clan all by himself. He was a lawless devil lord. He was already showing mercy by only crippling one of their cultivation bases and taking one of their arms. The 6 old monsters gritted their teeth slightly. Then, all of them slammed their palms on the top of their heads, crippling one of their cultivation bases. After that, all of them stretched out an arm. Ning Fan flicked his finger and 6 black and white blades cut off one of their arms each. This was a punishment. All of you can leave now. Ning Fan said indifferently. The 6 of them felt as if they had just been pardoned. Without hesitation, they took out the gates of the Rain world and returned to their respective worlds. Only when they truly returned to their own worlds did they believe that their lives were saved. This is the might of the Rain Sovereign. With just his reputation, he could make the 7th Break Realm old monsters cripple their own cultivation base and give up one of their arms. The Heavenly Sovereign swallowed his saliva and looked at Ning Fan in fear. Ning Fan's reputation was even greater than that of ordinary rogue immortal old ancestors. He only needed to reveal his name. He did not need to do anything at all, and the others were already afraid of him. The Heavenly Sovereign was filled with regret. How could he have offended such a person? If Dugu doesn't allow me to kill anyone, I won't. Tianxiong, Tianyun and Shui, I will give you a chance to live. If you become my slaves, I can guarantee that you won't die. What? Become your slaves? Impossible. I'm one of the 3 emperors of the sword world. Tianxiong was just about to retort when he broke out in a cold sweat. Unbeknownst to him, Ning Fan had already appeared behind him and was staring at him coldly. 3 breaths. Ning Fan uttered 2 words coldly. The meaning was clear. Within 3 breaths of time, if Tianxiong refused to comply, then he would die. A breath passed, and Tiany's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. 2 breaths passed, and Tianxiong's heart was in a mess. The 3rd breath, Tianxiong gritted his teeth and knelt in front of Ning Fan. His face was as pale as ashes. I am willing to be your slave. Very good. Ning Fan spread his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Tian Yixiong's Sea of Consciousness. Then, he casually crippled Tian Yixiong's cultivation base to the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Tian Yixiong sighed in despair, but he did not dare to resist. Then, Ning Fan glanced at Tian Yunshui. With just a cold gaze, Tian Yunshui, the #1 prodigy of the sword world, was so scared that he wet his pants. I am willing to be a slave, I am willing to be a slave. Ning Fan frowned and looked at little Dugu. When he saw little Dugu gently shaking his head, his eyes were filled with reluctance. He could not help but sigh. Even though he hated this person, he could not bear to kill him in front of little Dugu and make her unhappy. He spread out his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Tian Yixiong's Sea of Consciousness. Then, he casually crippled his cultivation base to the harmonious spirit realm. Forget it. Since I can't kill him, I should at least make him a harmonious spirit realm cripple. My life is saved. My life is saved. Tian Yixiong Yunshui was overjoyed. He kept kowtowing to Ning Fan to express his gratitude. His previous gentle demeanor was nowhere to be seen. From today onwards, you are the heavenly sovereign of the Heaven Palace. Ning Fan looked at the great elder of the Ling Palace and said indifferently. The great elder of the Ling Palace had also gone to the ancient heavenly court and was saved by Ning Fan. He was a third heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator. By doing so, Ning Fan wanted to give the Heaven Palace to the Ling Palace. This was the betrothal gift. I am willing to marry little Dugu with the heaven border as the betrothal gift. Sovereign Ling, please grant my wish. Ning Fan bowed deeply towards Sovereign Ling. What he said shocked all the cultivators of the sword world who were present. The heaven border as the betrothal gift. The heaven border as the betrothal gift. The Rain Sovereign was really generous. He subdued the forces of the entire heaven border with just a wave of his hand and used a third of the forces of the sword world as the betrothal gift to marry a woman. Sovereign Ling's eyes were filled with astonishment. Even though he had heard about Ning Fan's strength, seeing it once was better than hearing about it 100 times. Today, when he saw Ning Fan waving his hand and the shrouding heaven palace with his own eyes, he was naturally astonished. Besides, he also heard that Ning Fan used the entire heaven border as the betrothal gift to marry little Dugu. This betrothal gift was really too heavy. For a moment, he did not know how to answer Ning Fan. Countless female cultivators looked at little Dugu with envy. If they could also meet a man in their lives and use the entire heaven border as the betrothal gift to marry him, how blissful would that be? Little Dugu blushed under everyone's stares. She let out a soft snort and glared at Ning Fan in embarrassment. I didn't kill anyone today. Are you happy? Ning Fan said with a smile. Happy your ass. Little Dugu turned her head away. At the moment when she turned her head, her eyes were filled with happiness. This damned little devil Ning. Humph! Looking at little Dugu's shy expression, Ning Fan could not help but recall the first time he met this girl. Her alienation and indifference made him burst into laughter. Suddenly, Ning Fan raised his head coldly. An old man riding a crane slowly appeared in the sky. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes revealed a look of regret. I am Su Daozi of the Heaven Celestial Realm, and I am on good terms with the Heaven's Edge. I wonder if the Rain Sovereign can give me some face and release the Heaven's Edge? As soon as the crane-riding old man finished speaking, the expressions of countless Sword World cultivators changed. Su Daozi was one of the 3 great loose immortals of the Heaven Immortal world. During the last trip to the Heavenly Court, the Heaven Immortal world had only sent one rogue immortal, Master Void Dao. The reason why he didn't go was because he was in death seclusion, comprehending life and death. It was said that after coming out of seclusion, Su Daozi's comprehension of life and death was no weaker than the old primitive emperor of the demon world. His strength was among the best in the 9 realms. He was actually going to stand up for Sky Palace. A hint of joy suddenly appeared in the heavenly emperor's hollow eyes as he shouted, "Senior, save me!" He had no idea what kind of relationship Su Daozi had with Heaven Border. However, he was naturally happy that someone was standing up for Sky Border. No way! Ning Fan's tone was cold, leaving no room for negotiation. Is that so? Then, this old man will have a taste of fellow Taoist Ning's skills. I want to see if fellow Taoist is really as the rumors say, that you are already invincible in the 9 realms. Su Daozi leaped down from the white crane. As soon as he took a step forward, a lotus that was half black and half white appeared beneath his feet. Then he took another step forward and another lotus appeared. His body moved swiftly and he had already taken a few thousand steps in an instant, giving birth to 1,000 lotuses. Immortal technique, lotus blooming step by step. Among the 1,000 lotuses, the old man's figure flashed and he looked down at Ning Fan from above. His eyes were filled with arrogance. He did not believe that Ning Fan really had the terrifying strength that the rumors say. The 1,000 lotuses were ignited with lotus flames at the same time. A terrifying pressure slowly rose from the old man's body. The cultivators of the sword world in all directions were overwhelmed by the pressure. Those whose cultivation bases were not strong enough all fainted. Since we can't see eye to eye, let's fight. If you can win against me by even half a move, the heaven border will belong to you. Su Daozi said coldly. Chapter 687. Little Devil Ning, if you don't have the confidence to win, you can go find your master. He will help you. Little Duga's lips moved closer to Ning Fan's ear and whispered. The faint aroma caused Ning Fan's mind to sway. Inadvertently touching Little Dugu's soft lips, the wet and cool touch made Ning Fan's eyes even more gloomy. Don't worry. Ning Fan nodded at Dugu. Then he leaped into the sky. Looking at Su Daozi, who was surrounded by thousands of lotus flowers, Ning Fan's eyes revealed a solemn expression. Immortal technique, lotus blossoming step. These 1,000 lotuses could be used for both offense and defense. They could also increase Su Dao's aura and replenish his magic power. Su Daozi was no weaker than the old Yuan Emperor when he used the life and death art. Ning Fan knew that the reason why he killed countless rogue immortals in the ancient heavenly court that day was all because of the might of the weapon disintegration style. Due to the excessive use of the weapon disintegration style, there was a huge sequela in his body. Demonic will. Even though the devil sense was already sealed, as long as Ning Fan uses the weapon disintegration style again, the devil sense would erupt again. He couldn't use the weapon disintegration style. He had to use other means to defeat Su Daozi. It wasn't just winning by 1 or 2 moves, it was a complete victory. Even if he didn't have the weaponry dissolution style, he still had absolute confidence. With a single step, he transformed into a black robe. Raising his hand, he extracted and devoured the soul. After displaying the incarnation technique, Ning Fan's aura force instantly skyrocketed to the middle stage of the 9-breaking realm. After using the soul extracting technique, Ning Fan's magic power had increased tremendously. He was now a peak 9-break realm cultivator. The difference between his magic power and Su Daozi's was almost negligible. Master Su's eyes trembled, and his expression instantly turned serious. He seemed to have underestimated Ning Fan. Ning Fan's current magical strength was not inferior to ordinary rogue immortals. Ning Fan was worthy of his attention. Immortal art, crow slaughter. Su Daozi's 10 fingers formed seals, and countless black crows flew out of his body. These crows were formed from the Tao of death. If a low-grade cultivator were to be struck by this black crow, they would either be killed or severely injured. Even an 8-shatter cultivator would die if he was surrounded by the crows. Senior Su Daozi is so powerful. He actually executed 2 celestial arts in succession. His magic power is so thick. It's said that Senior Su Daozi is already close to becoming an immortal. Looks like it's true. Discussions broke out on the ground. In the sky above, Ning Fan's eyes were solemn as he looked at the sky full of black crows that were rushing towards him. The black crows emitted a dazzling black light. Their bodies were covered in all kinds of ancient runes and emitted a dense death aura. The aura of death spread out, and the snowy mountains turned black in an instant. Many low-level cultivators were enveloped by the death qi, and their vitality rapidly flowed away. Even Ling Huang and Miao Huang were unable to resist the aura of death emitted by this immortal art. Dugu was enveloped by the aura of death, but there was a mysterious force in her body that protected her. It was truly mysterious. Ning Fan's eyes gradually turned cold. He could ignore anyone else in this place who was corroded by the death qi except for Dugu. Even though Dugu was protected by a mysterious force and was not injured, Ning Fan was truly enraged. Infinite vortex. All of a sudden, a gigantic illusory whirlpool appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet. Then, a second whirlpool that was even larger than the first one appeared. Third, fourth, fifth, countless illusory whirlpools appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet, startling Su Daozi. Then, he shook his head and sneered. Vortex technique, huh? The vortex technique of the Three Worlds sect is only slightly more powerful than the first sect master. The rest of them are not worth mentioning. Your vortex technique is also... Just as his voice fell, his expression changed greatly. He saw black crows rushing towards Ning Fan one after another. Before they could even touch him, they were all sucked into the illusory whirlpool beneath his feet. What Ning Fan displayed was undoubtedly the spatial vortex technique. However, the spatial vortex technique he displayed could even take away an immortal technique. Void Vortex Realm. This young man has actually cultivated the vortex technique to the Void Vortex realm. No, it's not a true Void Vortex. However, this technique is already comparable to a low-grade immortal technique. Immortal techniques also had different grades. The Lotus Steps and Crow-Killing technique that Su Daozi displayed were both low-grade immortal techniques. If the Vortex technique is cultivated to the highest level, it would be a mid-grade immortal technique. After returning to Yu Country for a month, Ning Fan had devoured 37 pieces of world creation stones. Currently, 38 out of the 72 floating continents in the Void Vortex heaven had turned illusory. The destructive power of this technique was already comparable to a low-grade immortal technique. If one is careless, even a rogue immortal might be directly sucked and killed by Ning Fan. After the black crows that filled the sky were sucked away, Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at Su Daozi. A massive illusory whirlpool immediately appeared beneath Su Daozi's feet. Su Daozi's eyes widened in surprise. Without saying a word, he retreated at top speed and managed to avoid being sucked away by the whirlpool. However, his back was already drenched in cold sweat. He stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not imagine that Ning Fan could actually cultivate the secret technique of the Heaven Immortal world to such a level. Seeing that Ning Fan was about to summon the second illusory whirlpool to attack him, Su Daozi gritted his teeth and flicked his sleeves. All the black and white flames on the thousands of lotus flowers flew towards Ning Fan. The black and white flames were extremely strange. A moment ago, they were still 10,000 zhang away. In just an instant, they appeared in front of Ning Fan and turned into a sea of flames, engulfing Ning Fan. Ning Fan stood in the middle of the sea of flames and casually walked out of it. The black and white flames were enough to severely injure ordinary rogue immortals. However, they were useless against Ning Fan. The minor 5 elements physique was at the perfection realm. Unless it was an immortal flame, it would not be able to hurt Ning Fan at all. Devour! Under Su Daozi's incredulous gaze, Ning Fan devoured all the black and white flames in a single gulp. Then he lifted his finger and pointed at Su Daozi. 9 black fire dragons shot out from his finger and turned into an endless sea of flames, engulfing Su Daozi. The thousands of lotus flowers were all incinerated. It was an immortal flame that had reached the peak of low grade 8. As soon as the flames appeared, Su Daozi's soul almost left his body. He had a premonition that if he does not use all of his means, he would certainly be burned to death in this sea of flames. Dao Ling, please. Su Daozi took out a water blue jade token that was filled with cracks. He clenched his teeth and crushed the jade token. The water blue light shone from the jade token and condensed into the shadow of a unicorn whose body was completely blue. The unicorn opened its mouth and breathed out layers of cold mist which actually extinguished the immortal flames. Su Daozi looked at Ning Fan with lingering fear. He gritted his teeth and said to the unicorn, "Dao Ling, let's join forces and defeat this man." Roar. The unicorn nodded and let out a roar, seemingly agreeing to Su Daozi's request. It was a Dao Ling, which was a beast seed condensed from Dao power. Ordinary means could not hurt it at all. Its cultivation base was comparable to a rogue immortal. If it joins forces with Su Daozi, they might not necessarily not have the confidence to defeat Ning Fan. It was arrogant and looked down on all living beings. As a Dao Ling, once it is chosen, it would even have the qualifications to control the heavenly Dao. 2 against 1. This Rain Sovereign is in danger. Some sword cultivators of the Ling Palace said worriedly. They still had a good impression of Ning Fan. After all, he had overturned the heaven border and lifted the prestige of the Ling Palace. Moreover, he was going to be the son-in-law of Ling Huang in the future. Little Devil Ning, you can't lose. Dugu Qiao stood in the wind, aloof from the world. She raised her head and looked at Ning Fan expectantly. She believed that Ning Fan would not lose. She knew how much effort that stubborn young man had put in to reach his current level. Therefore, he certainly would not lose. He definitely would not lose. Dao Ling, huh? Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and raised his hand to take out an item. The crowd could not see clearly what it was. All they saw was a ray of black light flashing across the sky and dashing towards the unicorn. The arrogant expression on the unicorn's face instantly disappeared. What replaced it was indescribable fear. Without saying anything, it fled for its life. How is this possible? The Dao Ling is arrogant by nature and it doesn't know most of the magic treasures and abilities. Why would it show a look of fear? Why would it flee? What kind of magic treasure did Ning Fan use? Su Daozi also wore a surprised expression. At the next moment, all of his astonishment turned into unimaginable shock. In the vast sky, a ray of black light was already approaching the unicorn at an unimaginable speed. The unicorn wanted to flee, but the moment it turned around, the ray of black light caught up to it. As the ray of black light cut through the air, the unicorn, which was a Dao Ling, was actually cut into 2 halves and died instantly. Its corpse turned into Dao power and dissipated, leaving not a single trace behind. After the ray of black light killed the Dao Ling, it returned to Ning Fan's hand. Only then did everyone see that it was a magic treasure that was entirely black and shaped like a pair of scissors. Black devil scissors. This was a treasure that the old devil had refined with all his efforts. It could even cut Dao power into pieces. This treasure was originally given to Moksha Sovereign by the old devil. Now it belonged to Ning Fan. Dao. The Dao Ling actually died in an instant. What kind of magic treasure is that? How could it be so powerful? Su Daozi's expression actually revealed a hint of fear. Of course, he did not know that the grade of the Black Devil Scissors was not high. It was already impressive enough for it to be able to destroy 8 Dao power. The reason why it could instantly kill the unicorn was because the unicorn was a Dao Ling and this Black Devil Scissors specialized in destroying Dao power. Fellow Daoist Ning, I was too reckless today. I will leave the sword world now and will no longer interfere in the disputes of the sword world. Su Daozi's heart was filled with fear. At this moment, all he wanted to do was to leave. How could he still care about helping Tianjiang? Ning Fan stared at Su Daozi coldly and directly locked his killing intent on him. You can come and go as you wish. How can there be such a good thing in this world? If I let you leave the sword world safely today, will there be any Tom, Dick, or Harry who will come and help my enemies the next time? You won't be able to leave. The ancient heavenly court saving the cultivators of the 9 worlds was a favor. Leaving Su Daozi alive today was a show of power. Using both kindness and power was the right way to go. Since Su Daozi came to cause trouble today, Ning Fan certainly would not let him go. It was a good opportunity to use him to establish his prestige. If Ning Fan's skills were inferior and Su Daozi was the one who won, how would Su Daozi deal with Ling Dian? There was no such thing as reason in the cultivation world. Whoever's fist was bigger would be the reason. This was also taught by the old devil sect. Ning Fan, Don't you dare bully me too much. If you anger me, I will certainly make you regret it. Su Daozi pretended to be arrogant, but inwardly he was already extremely afraid. So what if I bully you? Who do you think I am? Ning Fan threw his head back and laughed loudly. The baleful qi around his body soared to the sky. He was a devil cultivator. Why would he need to reason with others? If he bullies his enemies, then so be it. Why should he be soft-hearted? That baleful qi contained the lives of tens of rogue immortals. When he realized this, Su Daozi's legs nearly gave out from fear. The lives of tens of rogue immortals. Ning Fan actually had the lives of tens of rogue immortals in his hands. Could it be that the rumor that Ning Fan had once fought against a life-immortal realm expert is true? How could he possibly defeat such a Ning Fan? Su Daozi was filled with regret. Why did he have to stand up for the heaven border? He just heard that there was a second secret place of the sword ancestor hidden in the heaven border. That was why he wanted to plot against the heaven border. As for the nonsense about him having a good relationship with the heaven border, it was pure nonsense. It was just to deceive others and give him a legitimate reason to do so. Originally, he wanted to protect the heaven border and the heaven palace. Moreover, he wanted to stay in the heaven border to search for the secret place with the identity of an old friend of the heaven palace. However, he did not expect that his greed would actually cost him his own life. At this moment, he was already in a difficult position. Only by fighting with his life on the line would he have a chance of survival. Su Daozi took out a golden jade seal magic treasure and waved it in the air. Immediately, the jade seal turned into an ancient golden palace and fell from the sky, crashing towards Ning Fan. Su Daozi, on the other hand, leaped onto his white crane without saying a word. With a wave of his hand, he took out a jade slip that led to the realm gate and crushed it. No matter what, I must escape back to the heaven immortal world first. This is... Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the golden palace. To his surprise, he felt a sense of familiarity. That sense of familiarity originated from Emperor Xia's sword intent in his body. The power of this treasure was not bad. It might not be able to hurt him, but it was enough to delay him for a while. If Ning Fan avoids this treasure, it would fall towards the countless cultivators of the sword world below and kill countless of them. Dugu was one of them. Su Daozi was betting that Ning Fan would let him go in order to save his life. Sometimes, this kind of action was the righteous path. However, in the matters of cultivation, survival was always the priority. Righteousness and evil were just different standpoints. Ning Fan, of course, would not let Su Daozi go in order to resist this treasure. He patted the devil sealing pouch and summoned a devil. Then he gave an irrefutable order. Big Head, you block this treasure. No one in the sword world is allowed to get hurt. Don't worry, Master. I will definitely complete this mission with honor. I will do my best until my last breath. Big Head burst into laughter. The devil chi around his body billowed into the sky. He threw out hundreds of punches in a row, forcing the jade seal magic treasure back to its original form. He was extremely pleased with himself. Right now, he only wanted to do one thing, and that was to make a contribution. He could be considered to have seen through his master's personality. As long as he makes enough contributions, his master would certainly not treat him shabbily. At that time, if he wants to change his name, his master would certainly agree to it. If he wanted to learn his master's great technique of picking up girls, his master would certainly not hesitate to teach him. A rogue devil. The Rain Sovereign actually has a rogue devil as his servant. Countless old monsters of the sword world were astonished. Only the old monsters above the void fragmentation realm were not surprised. The news of Ning Fan having a rogue devil as his servant had already spread far and wide after the ancient heavenly court was closed. Of course, it was only spread among the void fragmentation realm circle. Low-level cultivators would not be able to know so much information about it. With the rogue devil blocking the magic treasure, Ning Fan did not waste any time at all. He took a step forward and turned into countless black shadows, disappearing from his original spot. The black shadows swept across the vast sky towards Su Daozi, who was half a step into the realm gate. In an instant, they engulfed him in layers of black shadows. Su Daozi's soul almost left his body and he cursed loudly. Despicable! How despicable! He actually summoned a rogue devil to help him. He did not even think about who was the one who first asked the Dao spirit to help him and who was the despicable one. Under the attack of the black shadows, Su Daozi was instantly severely injured. He coughed out blood and fell off the white crane. As for the realm gate that he summoned, it was destroyed by the black shadows in an instant. With a loud bang, Su Daozi's body fell heavily onto a snowy mountain below. The momentum of his fall directly flattened the entire mountain. He lay on the rubble, coughing out blood nonstop. The black shadows condensed again. A young man in black robes stepped on his dantian with a cold and emotionless expression. With just a single step, his primordial spirit would perish. Being my slave means that you won't die. Today, I don't want to kill anyone. However, if you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, I don't mind spilling blood. Ning Fan exerted a little force on his foot. Su Daozi's face immediately turned pale. He was just half a step away from becoming an immortal. Of course, he was unwilling to become Ning Fan's servant. However, if he does not agree to Ning Fan's request, he would die. Not to mention becoming an immortal, his life would be in danger. 3 breaths. When the same words fell into Su Daozi's ears, it made him break out in cold sweat. He did not wait for Ning Fan to count to 3 because he was not sure if Ning Fan had the patience to count to 3. I agree to be your slave. However, I have a condition. You can't stop me from becoming an immortal and ascending. After all, I'm already on the verge of ascension. It doesn't matter. If you become an immortal and ascend, you will still be my immortal slave. Ning Fan's expression was cold. He spread out his spirit sense and planted a mental seal in Su Daozi's sea of consciousness. Obtaining another rogue immortal as a servant was not a bad gain. Now, tell me the reason why you are plotting against the heaven border. Don't force me to search your soul and memory. Don't tell me that you have a good relationship with the heaven border. I don't believe it. Ning Fan withdrew his black robes and turned back into his white robes. Then he looked at Su Daozi quietly. Right from the beginning, he could tell that Su Daozi's words were deceptive. If he really had a good relationship with the heaven border, why would he watch Ning Fan cripple the cultivation base of the heavenly sovereign and the others and plant a mental seal in them before taking action? If he really had a good relationship with Ning Fan, he would probably have taken action at the first moment. The reason why Su Daozi did not take action until now was just because he wanted to observe Ning Fan's means. Su Daozi smiled bitterly. He thought to himself that even though his master's bone age is young, he is really too shrewd. He can even see through such an illogical thing. After letting out a sigh, Su Daozi recorded all the information he knew into a jade slip and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense and kept it. His expression was as calm as an ancient well. Then he brought Su Daozi back to the outside of the Sword Ancestors' secret place. Each of the sword cultivators of the Ling Palace looked at Ning Fan with fanatical admiration. As one of the 3 great rogue immortals of the Heaven Immortal world, Su Daozi was just half a step away from becoming an immortal. However, he was forcefully taken in as a slave by Ning Fan. Ning Fan's strength had been proven in front of countless people. With the Heaven Border as a betrothal gift and a rogue immortal as a slave, the 9 worlds would probably be shaken once again. Little Devil Ning, are you hurt? Little Dugu hurriedly ran towards Ning Fan and carefully examined him. Big Head was stunned at first. Then he looked at Ning Fan with eyes filled with admiration. Oh my gosh! Master managed to deceive another mistress. He's really amazing. I wish I could have that kind of charm too. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.